1 second if you're there. Oh, also let me know if you can hear me. Are people there? Hi, Jay. Thank you for stopping by. Nice. Okay, okay. It's been a little while. Hey, okay. Okay, people still remember I exist. That's good. That's good, that's good. Let me just get everything set up on my end. I have chat popped up now, which I'll keep off to the side. I'm trying to read people's names, try to remember people, but some of your names are really, really long. How's everyone doing today? I think I've reevaluated how I should be. Oh, nice. Okay, I'm monetized and everything. Okay, how I should be streaming. So I have a couple of notes on things that I want to talk about today. And you know, a bit Ludwig-esque, I guess, where we'll talk about things that I would usually talk about in videos, and then I may use parts of this as parts of videos and whatnot. But we'll get there when we get there. How is everyone? Yeah, I did meet Ryan in Kyoto. He's a nice guy. Okay. I should probably tweet that I'm streaming for the first time in forever. Is my sound fine and everything? I know that my keyboard's extremely loud, but I'm not sure exactly how to really fix that. But consider it ASMR, and then you can't complain. Sign. Oops. Shit. Fuck. Hold on. I said I tweeted that I'm streaming, but I didn't post the link. Hold on. Let's redo that. Instantly delete that. Streaming. Think it should be working. I didn't know that Control Enter just posts the tweet. Okay, yeah, it's up. I thought that like Shift Enter goes to the next line. I fumbled the I'm messing up all my words. I clicked the wrong button. I just instantly posted it. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mika or Mika Ra from Sweden. Really cool. I've only been to Norway of the Scandinavian countries, but I really like Norway. But yeah, how is everyone doing? UI Luffy testing, I haven't been able to test all too much. I'm really just leaving that up to the experts because like even making a starting list for that deck's really difficult because there's a bunch of different ways that you can take it. Favorite OP15 leader to play? It's kind of hard. I like Lucy and Rebecca though. Lucy and Rebecca are fun. NL seems cool, but he's a little bit too hard for me, or just in that I haven't been able to dedicate the time necessary to actually be good at him. He has a lot of weird mathy things, and then my brain freezes up when I have to do basic addition, so that's out of the question. Anything that's more than 2 plus 2 is too much for me, and then NL does like 6 minus 1 minus 2 plus 4 plus 1 is way too many weird things going on with that deck. It's 8 AM in Japan. I didn't set an alarm, so it's just whenever I woke up, I decided to start streaming. But even so, I woke up like an hour ago. Okay, but regardless, oh, maybe I'm a little bit too close to the camera. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've streamed, and oh, hold on. Yeah, it's basically fine. But yeah, the reason I haven't streamed for a little while is because I have been in Kyoto. Kyoto, famously not Tokyo. I live in Tokyo, which is where my streaming setup is and where my good Wi-Fi is, or ergo I have Ethernet. But in Kyoto, because I'm working, I'm a it's hard to explain what I do, but I do interior design as well as construction slash carpentry work. So it just happens to be that the site that I'm working on right now is in Kyoto, which means I have to be in Kyoto for a couple of months, which means that I can't stream for a little while. But I am back. It's a 3-day weekend in Japan. Not that really matters if you're in the construction field. You just work every day, basically. But I took the day off. I'm back with family for a little bit, and there's a lot of things to talk about, so I decided to stream today at the very least, because I'm already streaming, of course. And I think that there's going to be a 1v1 tournament for Bandai Card Game Fest later today, which I may also be streaming for. I'm not exactly sure, depending on my schedule. And potentially, I might have the All Blue on tomorrow to talk about OP15 and whatnot as well. So maybe a couple of streams in a row, which may be nice. Yeah. Yeah. Hope you guys are doing well. I have yeah, man, I'm whenever I see, like, other streamers struggle to read names, I'm like, "Is this guy playing it up for a bit?" But, like, I'm actually, like, trying to read some people's names, and I'm like, "Oh, man, I don't know if that's a like, person who just chatted, Sufane, I'm not exactly sure, sorry. But yeah, if so right now in terms of my job, it's a cool job, but it takes a lot of time, and also therefore because I have to be in a bunch of different places at once, it's very difficult for me to actually make content, which is why the pace of content has been a little bit slower recently. Um, but I do think that the quality of video has been quite nice. Yeah, and people seem to basically agree with that. Like to dislike ratio is pretty good. Views are pretty good as well. I got a lot of comments from free thinkers on my last video after the ban list dropped, saying that this aged poorly, talking about my ban list predictions. But I mean, honestly, let's just pull that up right now, as because we're just chilling and talking about random things. So, the broadcast. One second. Hold on. I'm getting bombarded by ads on YouTube right now. One second. But yeah, so I think, I mean, I guess this is a good place to start talking about the ban list, but I do want to wait a little bit before we talk about like the whole ramifications of the ban list. We'll just talk about exactly what cards have been banned and whatnot. So let me switch over. Okay, so I made this video before the ban list dropped, but you may not know that looking at the title because I made it vague on purpose to catch people even after the ban list would drop, and hopefully it wouldn't age too poorly because most of this video is talking about if pudding should or shouldn't be banned. I was of the opinion that it should be banned, and thankfully we did get that. Oh yeah, one thing to talk about though is that I was very confident that we wouldn't get Raigo back. And I didn't say this in the video because I didn't think that it would be worth mentioning because I didn't think that Daigo would actually come back. But the reason why I didn't think that Daigo would come back was because its ban last year, like, if you compare this card 1-to-1 with Red Rock, it's just a worse Red Rock, right? Like, I think objectively it's a worse Red Rock for the most part. But the reason why, in my opinion, they decided to ban um, Daigo and not Red Rock was not necessarily like part of it, of course, is design space in yellow, sure. But I think that the reason why they decided not to get rid of Red Rock was because they were going to rotate it. So my theory was that they didn't want these kinds of, although yes, we have like things like Honesty Impact, but Honesty Impact isn't just a kill anything button. But my theory was that they wanted to get rid of this from yellow to open up design space and just get rid of the 6 cost, get rid of a 10 cost button, but also let Red Rock rotate out. And we got one side of that puzzle where Red Rock is going to be rotating out, but then they decided to bring this back, which is really weird to me. It's not necessarily that this is going to break the game, because being at 1 life is somewhat of a demerit. Only a couple of leaders can actually abuse the fact. Something like Vegapunk, someone like Red Yellow Bonnie could use this very well. Also Sky Luffy. Sky Luffy's another one that's really good at using this card. Also searchable because it's the Sky Island type. I think that's probably why they ended up bringing back was to try to make Yellow Luffy a little bit better. But I just fundamentally don't really like the fact that this card came back. And then other than that, I mean, I was saying that uh, never existed in the first place should have been limited, restricted, which I still agree with. And oh my god, is that the Elite series from SleeveChief that you can find in my link in the description? Wow, what a beautiful deck case. Hold on. Wait, is that what? It's so pretty. Actually, this is really pretty though. Yeah, I know. Very happy to have them on. But let's get back on track. Talked about some unbans. We talked about the fact that Moria probably can't get banned or can't come back because there are other substitutes that exist for him, which we ended up being right on. But because Daigo came back, I don't think it's out of the question that Moria comes back now. Just because Daigo technically has a substitute, which was I forget the name of it, but there's a event that's like supernova locked in yellow, which puts a 9 cost or less into someone's life. And so that, in my opinion, was the Red Rock or the Daigo, what is it? Replacement that Yellow got, which was like significantly worse, but like there's some ways that you can make it work a little bit. But the fact that we got Daigo back and that card still obviously exists means that maybe Moria comes back. But the thing is also because, I mean, I don't know. It's a bit weird. Moria could potentially come back now that they brought things back like Daigo. But the one that I was correct on was that Jinbei came back. So yay, Jinbei back. But I mean, like I mentioned in the video, it doesn't make huge differences all around. Doflamingo's rotating out, so it's mainly just for the extra regulation that this card would be useful. Blue Boa was never really that great. Blue Yellow Boa doesn't use Warlords as a package, so doesn't really have huge ramifications, which means that obviously the card doesn't need to be banned anymore. But interestingly, this card, in my opinion, didn't need to be banned in the first place, so kind of funny. Oh yeah, Slam Gibson. Thank you, Zach. And Glitch. But yeah. So ban list all in all, I mean, I think in the past I've made predictions where like all of my predictions were false, and then people were like, "Oh, this aged well, this aged like milk," you know. But and I can't really say anything about those. But this time, at the very least, in a sense, I got 2 out of 3 of them right. I didn't get the Daigo right, but I got the Jinbei and Pudding right. I just misfired a little bit on things like Borsalino as well as never existed in the first place. But yeah, I guess it is a bit of a way that you could play Blue Jinbei, but it is a bit cope. I don't think that there's as many strong 4-cost warlords in that deck. I forget the name of it, there's the 4-cost fishman that summons a 3-cost or something out of your hand. If that was a warlord, then I could see something cool happening. If you go like Jinbei, fish, and then you have your leader effect to just expand your board. Oh yeah, Aradin. Can Bandai do emergency ban list? They, I don't know if they've called it an emergency ban list before, but I feel like they have. When OP03, OP03, when OP03 came out, the interesting thing is the Japanese schedule. Like you also have to remember that like OP03 very early in the game, so people don't know exactly what's really strong. If you look at like card lists, or sorry, other card games that exist, generally vanillas are not very strong. But the beginning of One Piece card game, vanillas were very, very strong because of the way that power works, where power is your offense as well as your defense. So just having good stat lines is actually a really good thing. So in the early One Piece card game, where effects weren't as crazy as they are now, vanillas were actually just really, really good, and people just didn't know for a really long time because they were playing off the assumption that they were bad coming from other card games. The thing that happened was that in OP02 for a very long time, the meta was Kiemon as the best deck. The green Kiemon, which is basically just a really bad version of Purple Luffy's leader effect. And then towards the very, very end of OP02, people started to realize that Whitebeard was actually really good just by playing all the vanillas that exist. So people started playing Whitebeard, but the thing is that Bandai already had buffs slated for Whitebeard in OP03, where they printed, I believe it was another Searcher. It was the 5-cost Marco, and maybe that was it. That was like actually fully relevant, but Newgate was already insanely broken in OP02, but people didn't know, so they printed support for him. And then OP03 came out, and we had like the first like kind of worlds, but it was only Japan. It was basically just a Japan finals, just because the card game was only like officially like fully out in Japan at that time. Like we had a couple of people in like OP03, but it was or OP01, but it was a little bit awkward to have like a world championship. So it was just a like worlds with only Japan. So basically just what is now called Japan Finals, and it was don't remember how many team or how many people there were, but I think Top Cut was 100% Whitebeard. And then I think about a week later, they just were like, and Moby Dick is gone. Have fun. And Straw Hat Whitebeard was still pretty good at the time, though, funnily. So it didn't actually kill Whitebeard. But, yeah, so I guess we have had some emergency ban lists in the past, if you consider that one. But ever since, most of their ban lists have been fashionably late. Was there a Blue Nami? Damn. I don't remember, honestly. The Blue Nami, I just remember the finals was like 2 Whitebeards with the exact same list, or maybe like 1 card off. Yeah. Captain Jack. I'm really lost. I've been struggling to find a leader I can get good at fundamentals with. I just came back to the game during OP14. I haven't played since OP08. I'm always losing. It's okay. I'm always losing too, so don't worry. Actually, I can show you what I've been playing recently, or what I've been always losing with recently from my SleeveChief deck box, which you can find the link to in my description if you use code Kai5 for 5% off. I believe it's 5% off. At the store, you could get something like this. I've been playing. Oops, I took an extra sleeve. Fuck. Hold on. It autofocuses on my face. If I get out of frame. There he is. Moria. Moria is a lot of fun in this meta, but very difficult to play. I think that if you're trying to learn fundamentals of the game in OP15, Yellow Luffy probably. Yellow Luffy is a simple enough deck. It's very expensive though. That is one thing. Just because it runs the 5-cost Porcelino. But Yellow Luffy is a somewhat simple deck, but has a lot of interesting decision making. The leader, it's not maybe like the perfect example, but like generally, if you want to learn how to play the game well, you should try a game or try a deck that plays on curve. Playing on curve, and then you have like your first 4 turns set up for like what's ideal for your deck. You have like first I want to search, then I want to either swing 5/5 or attach a couple of Dong onto my leader and swing, or keep searching. 5 Dong I play my 5 cost, 7 Dong I play my 7 cost, and then from 9 Dong, then you start to play the game. Then you think, am I going to play out? Am I going to keep expanding my board? Am I going to try to take back the opponent's board? Am I going to stall time? Am I going to go aggressive? Because especially in yellow, you have a lot of these levers that you can pull. If you want to be more defensive, you play Borsalino. If you want to be more aggressive, you attach your Dong. And like in the case of Yellow Luffy, for example, you could play the 5-cost Rush Luffy and just keep pushing a lot of damage. Then also for Yellow Luffy, you have the decision making of when they decide to take out your board if you use your leader effect. This because your leader effect also procs off of combat KOs. You can think, is the value of your life more important than the value of your characters, which is again another lever that you can pull for aggressive and defensive play. So I think that Yellow Luffy is actually a pretty good fundamentals deck, but this is completely disregarding the actual cost of the deck. Yeah. Hi Kyo, how are you? Is it this? It's 8:20 in Japan. Is it also 8:20 in Australia? Yeah. Yeah, we could probably talk a little bit about OP16. I'm not sure exactly what we'll end up talking about, but I might have the all blue on tomorrow, on stream, which hasn't happened in a while, which is mostly my fault because I've been busy recently. But OP16, we could talk a little bit about my thoughts on the leaders because I have opinions. Then, but yeah, I mean, first impressions, I really like Sengoku, but we'll need to see the actual cards. Oh, right. Yo, you're in Osaka. Yeah, I remember you had the whole. It's okay, you didn't have to come for Bandai Card Game Fest. It wasn't that good. You're not missing out on much. It was a bit disappointing. I could talk about my experience at Bandai Card Game Fest, but oh, there is one thing I do want to talk about. At some point, during this live stream, I have a flagship battle in about 4 hours, so I can't stream for the entire day today. Or at least I have a wait list. I don't know if I'll actually get into it. But it was really interesting deciding on our decks because, I mean, I understand the West doesn't have 3v3s, which is unfortunate. But choosing your decks for 3v3s isn't just choosing the top 3 off of a tier list. There's a lot of factors that go into choosing your decks for a 3v3 and, of course, practicing for them. So the reason why I brought Moria isn't just because I thought it was the third best deck in the meta. It was specifically uh, built and also chosen for 3v3s. So I'll tell you a bit about this when we get the chance to. I'm actually curious how many people are watching right now. This chat's moving very fast. Ooh, that's a lot of people. I don't even know if it's an accurate number. Who knows? An accurate. Yeah, that's a lot of people. Just for me yapping. That's crazy. Okay. I lost chat. There you are. But how's I was going to start this stream kind of like asking how you guys are doing, but I ended up just like answering a bunch of questions about the meta. How's life for you guys? You know, I understand that TCGs isn't everyone's entire life. So, you know, we all have good things going on, bad things going on. Life moves on anyways. Is everyone having a nice, is it the weekend yet? For I maybe it's still Friday for a lot of people. Laid off and no job. No. No, it's the 2026 special. That's tragic. Hi there, Boo. But I hope you find a job soon. Even if it's not the job that you're looking for. Starting from somewhere and building back up is will help you internally, I'm sure. Yeah, that really sucks. A lot of my friends in Japan, I guess, it's harder to fire people. Just because of that's one nice thing about Japanese work culture is that it's much easier to get a job, and it's also much harder to get fired from your job because there's a law, interestingly, in Japan that you can't actually fire full-time employees. They have to leave on their own accord. The bad thing about that is that people just get bullied into leaving. So, a good thing and bad thing. But if you don't get bullied out, then you can stay forever. Yeah. Um, Riddles, yeah. Girlfriend's father is doing better. Obviously, he's not cancer-free. But he's last time they went to the doctor, he's been doing a lot better and he's been recovering. So hopefully that means he has a lot more time than they say he has. From 70 and sunny. I hope that that's Fahrenheit. Be 15. And I don't even know. I don't know how Fahrenheit temperatures work, but that sounds like a big drop. About to graduate college, one legacy. Congratulations. What's your major? Hope you can find a job because I hear that it's very difficult to find a job right out of college. You guys talking about Brooke? Brooke, unfortunately, just doesn't really have enough. He dies a little bit too fast for him to actually get to the point where he can close out the game. Like, the deck incentivizes you to play very fast as Brook to just get to, like, 0 as fast as possible and just break through on the turn that you get to 0. But the issue is that you just can't break through on that turn. You don't have enough damage to actually win on that turn. So you have to play the game slower with Brook, where you get, like, a couple of hits in and then use your leader effect to, like, at the opponent and kill them. But the thing is that he doesn't survive long enough to actually get to that point, so it's just a bit of an awkward deck. The leader effect's cool, though, and the cards that he has access to. Yeah, computer information systems. Yeah, dude, I don't know how a computer works. I'm struggling as it is. I just have OBS on with my camera slapped in the corner, and then I can just flip between tabs like this, but I don't know exactly how anything works here, so good luck with that. Anything with little digital numbers is foreign to me. My major was interior design and architecture, but more broad focus on design as a whole. So I did product design, interior design, what is it, exhibition design. There's a couple of interesting things that I did in university. Is Nami the best yellow deck in OP15? Yes. Yeah, it is. The meta has changed a little bit. Just Nami's so prevalent that like Boa and Enel have come down a little bit. Yeah, Nami is pretty disgusting. Resource monster, 7,000 power leader. It's also very boring's harsh, but it is a little bit boring to play in my opinion because you just play one card per turn. Oh, I guess that's another deck that's kind of I don't know if it's the best fundamentals deck for the question before, but yeah. Nami is just very simple. Like, it's not like she decides if she wants to go aggressive or defensive. She basically has one mode, which is defense, and she does it very, very well. She has 7,000 power leader. She heals every single turn, basically from 7 Dong. She can also use the Quasar Borsa very well. She can also use the Thriller Bark package. She can use 7 cost Robin. She just infinitely heals. She has a leader effect that gives her more cards and makes her leader 7,000 power. That basically, when you're fighting Nami, you're just like, you keep hitting, and you're like, do you have another heal? And they go, yes. Do you have another heal? They go, yes. And then you just do this over and over for 30 minutes, and hopefully you finish in time. But it's, I mean, just thinking about it makes me tired. Nami's a bit tragic to fight against, but there is a leader that does beat Nami, which is the leader that I'm hopefully going to be bringing to my flagship battle today, but I do need to sleeve it up. Hold on. Sorry, let me get my SleeveChief binder. You could also get in the SleeveChief store with code Kai5 and in my link in the description. Dun, dun, dun. Here's the binder version of, oh, my deck list, or my deck case disappeared. Hold on. Binder, deck case. Then, hold on. It looks really nice in the light, doesn't it? Very shiny. But yeah, sorry. I was very sad that my favorite leader was no longer playable, so I symbolically put it number 1 in this binder. But because the meta has changed, dun, 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 it's time to bring back Ima. Because, let me tell you, I said in my ban list video that if they hit Pudding but don't hit Emu, then Emu might become a problem once again in OP15, and I believe that it may. So the thing with Emu is that I think that this may be the missing piece to OP15 to make it a triangle meta. Because right now what it is it's Blue Yellow Nami destroying everything except for Lucy. And so right now the triangle is like NL / Yellow Luffy, although it's like a little bit gray, beat Lucy, Lucy beats Nami, and Nami beats NL / Luffy. But the thing is that Ime beats Lucy as well as Nami. The NL matchup is hard. The Luffy matchup is also very hard, just because of the way that his leader effect works. These matchups are difficult, but because Nami's play rate is so high right now, what ends up happening is that both of those decks' play rates, and as well as Luffy, have dropped down a little bit. There's also the like mental factor as well, where like NL is a really difficult deck. And if you are playing a really difficult deck and you have a losing matchup into a really easy deck, ergo Blue Yellow Nami, it feels really, really bad to play your deck because you're like, I'm thinking at 4 planes of existence higher than this person, and they still just go to 7,000 and keep healing every single turn, and I can't get through. Why am I playing this deck? So, therefore, Anal's play rate and Yellow Luffy's play rate have drastically come down just because of this, like, mental diff, in my opinion. Which means if there aren't as many NLs and Luffy's right now, then Emu is extremely good. But if Emu becomes popular, then NL and Luffy end up coming back. So I think what'll end up happening is that we'll have the triangle of Nami, NL, Emu in the end, but we'll see if that ends up being correct. I don't know if it's going to be correct, but that's my theory, is that Emu is going to be the piece of the puzzle in OP15 to make it a triangle meta. Good or bad, don't really know yet, but I have a feeling that Emu is going to come back. Ace doesn't really fit into this. Ace struggles a bit into Lucy. I think that there are ways that you could play it to make it a little bit better for Ace, but it's very difficult to rest your new gates because Lucy has a minus 8k power effect that comes off of 7 cost 9,000 power blocker. NL struggles versus Hancock, which still exists. Not NL. Ace struggles versus Hancock, that still exists. Ace struggles versus NL as well. Yellow Luffy is fine for him, but Yellow Luffy, as we mentioned before, because of Nami, has been not been played as much recently. Nami matchup is fine for Ace as well. So like Ace isn't terrible, but he has enough bad matchups that he's not really in the conversation for like the top of meta, if that makes sense. What counters NL? Yellow Luffy does okay. Blue Yellow Nami is his worst matchup. And Karugara kind of beats NL. It's a lot of decks, if you remember Purple Luffy back in the day, the amount of power that NL can put out when he's going first versus second is very different. So there's a lot of decks that can win against NL if you go first. Things like Purple Doflamingo beat NL when you're going first. But the second that that's flipped and he's going first and you're going second, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of matchups that you end up losing. So White Coin Flippy, Black Crocodile is another deck that can do well into NL. Boa's still doing fine, but because of Blue Yellow Nami's play rate being so high right now, as well as Lucy players getting better at the Boa matchup, it has become a little bit more difficult. But basically, for the Lucy enthusiasts in here, what you want to do as Lucy versus Boa, maybe, I'm sorry, Taylor, or Bob Taylor, if you are a Boa main, that I'm going to give the Lucy players the strategy against Boa Hancock. But what you want to do as Lucy is to not hit the opponent. You starve them for a little bit, or you only want to hit with Cavendish. You play Cavendish on Fordong, basically. You don't want to hit with your leader because you're just going to give them triggers. And what you want to do is manage their board and use the Buddy Buddy pistol, Barrier pistol, I think it's called in English, to keep bottom decking their characters that come out, whether it's like the 5-cost Nami or like Gorgon Sisters and whatnot. Accrue resources with your leader effect as well as Cavendish. And then once you get to that 7-cost, the 7-dong, 8-dong turn, where you can play out the 7-cost Sable, then you can start to push the initiative back on the opponent, where you want to use the other 7-cost event. I believe it's like, Luffy, sir, please give me the Flame Fruit or something, whatever. I don't know exactly what it's called. The one that gives your leader plus 3k as well as double attack and 2 cards in hand. That's the timing that you want to flip the switch on Hancock and start going aggressive on them, because you controlled their board in the early game. Your life total is still very high because you draw a lot of cards as Lucy, and then you play that card, and then you just like ram straight through their life, basically, and you have a 7-cost 9,000 power blocker, so even if they get out triggers, even if they get out 2 triggers, you're still at the very least going to be defending against one of them. So you say somewhat healthy, just slowly win out this war of attrition, push back with that event, and then you can win as Lucy. So therefore, because that matchup has been being solved, still not completely solved, I would imagine. But because it's in the process of being solved for the Lucy players as well as the Nami matchup being very prevalent, Hancock's player has been coming down, which is a joy for all, I must say. Ooh, my camera okay? Okay. Um, my deck list for Moria. I think I could. I think I could show it. The thing is, I basically just stole. I mean, not basically. I literally just stole Renee's list. Let me. My camera's. My camera's going crazy right now. I'm sorry. Let me. Oh. Yeah, my camera's going mental right now. Let me try to pull up my. Actually, maybe I don't want to accidentally pull up something weird. So let me pull this up first. Da-da-da. I'll give you the quick rundown of my deck list. If I can find it. Um. Okay. Here we are. Oh, sorry. Wrong, wrong tab. So I didn't have all of the cards. I had to borrow a couple of them. So this isn't complete deck list, but like you can see, like the Hogback's supposed to be at 4. And this should be 4 cost Zoro. Which trying to see if I can. Four Zoro. Okay, there we go. And this should be 4 Hogback. Right, that works. Okay, so basically, what this deck wants to do, you fill up your trash quickly. You try to fill it up with Hogback, Piranha, and Absalom, and you use your lead effect to just keep KOing them, keep getting good on KO effects, stun the opponent's board with Piranha, play other characters, aerial things like the Piranha, off of Hogback, or get your hand size a little bit bigger with things like Absalom. And in the meantime, you want to play things like the 6-cost Moria, which is going to keep playing out these cards. But interestingly, if you will take a closer look at the 6-cost Moria's text, which is in Japanese, so I'll read it to you. If your leader is the Thriller Bark Pirates type, check. You can play any 4-cost out of your trash rested. Any 4-cost. So this is why some people have been running Kikunojo, for example, in the past. However, we have a new broken 4-drop, which is the 4-cost Zoro. 4-cost Zoro, 4-cost 6,000, on play trash 1 card and heal 1 life is extremely good for this deck specifically because not only does it help you get some cards that are in your hand that you want to have in your trash into your trash, but also gives you more time, effectively giving you a leader effect for 1 card instead of 3 cards while also developing a 4-cost 6,000 power body. This combo of being able to let you heal off of the 6-cost Moria makes so that this Moria is no longer a brick off of the 6/7 don't turn, meaning that even if you miss out on like the 8-cost Moria or the 9-cost Hancock, you still have a means of healing off of this card, which is really, really nice. Once you have this early game down where you play down, if you're going first, you, for example, want to go like Hogback, Absalom, Hogback, into Moria, into Moria/Hancock, or second, you play like one of these guys that drop cards into like a 4-cost, into the 6-cost, into the 8-cost. These top end cards are basically just going to be doing a little bit of what Blue Yellow Nami does, but you'll have a little bit more respect from your opponent. Not, yeah, no, it is Blue Yellow Nami, yeah. Where you just heal every turn, but slowly chip away at the opponent's board. But because you have these really annoying and really sticky characters on the board, like Hogback, Absalom, and Piranha, which are difficult to get rid of, just in that people don't really want to get rid of them. And also them being in your trash doesn't mean that they're actually fully gone either. Makes it so that you can be quite aggressive just every single turn, hitting like 6/6, 6/6, 6/6, 6, or even like 5/7/7 or something like that. while healing every single turn. And if you do get a little bit scary, and you do have a couple of cards in your hand, you can use your lead effect and heal twice per turn. Just push the opponent's lethal a little bit further away, a little bit further away. But yeah, yes. Oh yeah, no Borsa. The thing is, so first of all, Borsa is not searchable, which, sure, you can just draw into it. But like by the time like you have such a good curve, you want to play the 6 cost Moria, you want to play the 8 cost Moria, and like the 9 cost Hancock is just more means of healing your life. But the thing is that if instead of 9 cost Hancock or 8 cost Moria, you play the 5 cost Borsalino, what are you going to do with the rest of your 5 Dong? Like, these other cards aren't necessarily that good, and they would have to come out of your hand. But if you were to, for example, play the 8 cost Moria, then you can immediately summon them onto the board, being just the old 8 cost 9,000 black Gecko Moria in a way. So it's kind of awkward to play Borsalino out of hand. So what you would want to do is to play it out of trash. This deck is really good at filling up trash, so you'd think that you should probably run the 5 cost Borsalino. But in reality, what ends up happening is that if you have 5 cost Borsalino, you have to run the Quasar. If you run Quasar, well, then you want to run Hyori. So then the issue is this deck doesn't need that many 2Ks, but the 2Ks that it has, Sindri and Kumashi, you can't change these cards, which means that if you want to add in Hyori, you need to have like 12 2Ks, something like 11 or 12 2Ks, which this deck doesn't need. Quasar, this deck doesn't need because you don't need the plus 3K. So really, if you're adding in these 8 cards, you're just adding it in for the 5 cost Borsalino. So the 5 cost Borsalino, while a very strong card, would force you to add in way too many cards that aren't good for this deck, that therefore I think just not having it is better. But yeah. Yeah, also, Toland is mentioning as well, the 8 cost Moria trigger plays any 4 cost out of your trash. So if you happen to trigger this off of your last life, then you could play the 4 cost Zoro out of your trash as well. So just this 4 cost Zoro being 4 cost specifically makes it so that it's playable off of your 6 cost Moria, it's playable off of your 8 cost Moria trigger, and in general, it's just really, really nice for the deck, making it much, much better than 5 cost Borsalino within this deck, and therefore also much, much nicer on your wallet. Now, I will say that this deck is probably going to be a little bit worse once rotation slash the ban list happens, because I feel like decks like Red Yellow Bonnie may become a little bit more popular. That being said, the Sky Luffy matchup is really, really good for this deck. Oh, sorry, hold on. I've been covering Lilith, haven't I? I saw people talking about Lilith and I wasn't sure. Yeah, but sorry, top right is 2 Lilith. Lilith can be played off of the 4 cost Hogback as well, by the way, off your trigger. So like if you're trying to play a long game, where you're just trying to stall resources, then you can like KO your Hogback, play out Lilith, and just keep drawing, and this can search both of your top end characters. So really, really nice combo you can do there. But yeah, that's Lilith. But the thing is, this deck struggles a little bit into leaders that increase their leader's power. So blue yellow Nami as a matchup is difficult. It's not impossible, I'll say. It's not like Hancock versus blue yellow Nami worst level of bad, but it is still bad. Roger is a bad matchup, and Red Yellow Bonnie are bad matchups because they can go up to 9,000 power. Like 7 to 8,000 you can still like almost deal with, but like 9,000 power is just like a little bit too high of a wall to actually get over for these decks. I don't think Roger can come back, but Red Yellow Bonnie can use Kingdom Come very, very well. So I can think that I would imagine that if Red Yellow Bonnie were to come back into the meta, which is weird to say come back, I guess, when it isn't even out in the West. But if that deck were to come back, then I can see this deck being a little bit worse. But this deck has a really good matchup into Sky Luffy because you just permanently stun the 5-cost Luffy with your 4-cost Brona. So it's a give and a take. But this deck is much, much better than I believe that its play rate would indicate. Yeah, I mean, so Rising, I understand what you say, that we should have the protection 2K Prona in the deck. There's also the fact that it is Thriller Bark, which is quite nice. But the thing is that there isn't that much removal in the game right now. Like Lucy is the big one, and so if you want to tech more for the Lucy matchup, then sure, you can add that in. It does have the weird thing as well, where like we already have a lot of really good 2Ks in the deck. We don't need more than 8 basically in the deck. But aside from Lucy, there isn't any removal within this deck. So Like, you could honestly maybe consider just putting in, like, 1 or 2. Probably just 1's fine. You just try to drop it into your trash, and then maybe you can find a way to play it off of, like, another effect. But, like, the thing is, the Lucy matchup isn't actually that bad for you, just because you spread your board so fast that, like, even if they're bottom decking one of your characters, you're still hitting with every other character that comes out. Plus, because of your triggers, you can play out more characters. Makes it difficult for them to hit into you, makes it difficult to rest their blockers. The Lucy matchup is scary if it goes on long enough, but it's not as scary as you would actually think. No, actually, this beats Krieg because Krieg loses to everything, unfortunately. Like, it's shocking how disappointing Krieg is because, um, this deck like, the thing is, when you go against Nami, you wanna play a little bit of a slower game, but you wanna make 7K attacks, and it's not that hard for this deck to make 7K power attacks because your leader effect gives everything plus 1K. So if you just have, like, 1 extra dong, which, for example, something like the 6-cost Moria gives you 1 extra dong for free, then you can keep making these 7K attacks that go into the opponent's leader, which against Krieg is 5K. The reason why the Nami matchup is actually hard is because they get so many more resources. They also have a bunch of life heal as well, meaning that the finish line keeps getting moved away from you, even as you try to reach it. Krieg, however, doesn't have the ability to move the finish line away from the opponent. So if you just stay aggressive, even though their leader is 7,000 power, because they don't actually gain resources, you still just chip away at their life and they still end up dying anyway. So the Krieg matchup is fine for this deck. I guess if you want to talk about the matchups for Moria, Gecko Moria, it does very, very well into NL. It does very well, maybe not very, very well, but it does well into Hancock. The 5-cost Porcelino makes it a little bit more annoying. It does well into Sky Luffy. It does over 50-50, a little bit winning into Lucy. It does poorly into Nami, and I mean, honestly, that's like the whole meta. But like Nami's play rate's really high, so therefore, like playing this deck is a little bit scary when you lose to Nami. But honestly, like every deck loses to Nami right now. So like, beat everything else basically. And like the Nami matchup isn't impossible either. But like aside from Nami, this deck really does well into like all the top meta things. It's just like if you hit like random things that like aren't quite top of meta, but like people like to cope a lot, like for example Roger, like for example Red Yellow Bonnie, then you just get run over. Uh, yeah, Krieg like on paper looked really broken, but unfortunately just wasn't quite so. I think it's just that like recently so many decks are so good at drawing cards that if you're playing a deck that's just has good cards but doesn't have good card draw, you can't actually contend that much with the meta. So if Krieg gets, for example, like a 5-cost that attaches a dong to one of the opponent's characters and draws you a card or something, then I think the deck's good. But like until that happens, I think that the deck just kind of gets run over pretty easily, unfortunately. Will Nami be as strong post-ban and rotation? So Nami is going to be losing Pudding and Red Rock, but I don't know if she's even running Red Rock anymore. I don't think she does. Um, but she can use Borsellino Quasar very, very well. So I think that she's still going to be pretty fine in post-rotation. I think really what's going to end up happening is that, like, the thing is, Nami as a deck has always been good. Like, since it's been revealed, it's always been good. But the reason why Nami has never been meta was because uh, Blue Purple Luffy destroys Nami, like utterly destroys Nami, and Blue Purple Luffy printed in the same set as Blue Yellow Nami completely overshadowed that deck. But the effect was always good. It just took a little while for the meta to actually be correct for Nami. Then once Blue Purple Luffy's play rate came down a little bit, we had, oh, what's this? The rise of a new deck that can beat Nami. So then we had things like Ima that exists within the meta. We also had things like Ace within the meta, which is basically just Blue Purple Luffy Deluxe. And what ended up happening was that even though Blue Yellow Nami is still good, the deck didn't really come up in popularity until the Japan finals, where everyone was playing Hancock. And when everyone was playing Hancock and you have a 70-30, maybe even 80-20 matchup into Hancock as this deck in Blue Yellow Nami. I always have to accidentally mess up Hancock and Nami, but hopefully you understand which one I'm talking about. That's why Blue Yellow Nami ended up winning. But then what happened is that Blue Yellow Nami with OP15 ended up killing a lot of the decks that beat Nami. Ima and Ace have both disappeared from the meta effectively. They're still decent, but they're not as powerful as they once were. And new decks that have come into the meta, like Yellow Luffy and like NL, have bad matchups into Nami. So therefore, the reason why Nami's good isn't because the deck was actually secretly broken and people didn't realize for a really long time. It's because it's a good meta call. So the second that the meta shifts and more people are focusing on targeting Nami, which I think is going to end up happening, people are going to start playing more decks that are good into Nami, whether it's blue, purple, Luffy, or Ima, for example, then the meta is going to start to become a little bit more interesting. So like right now, Nami is probably the best deck, but it's because no one's really trying to play a deck that beats Nami, if that makes sense. So it's hard to say, to come back to your question, it's hard to say if Nami is actually going to be the best deck, right? But it's a good deck. It's always going to come down to the meta for decks like that. But then... yeah. I think the meta is really interesting, though. Uh, 1 second. You mean Roseward? Yeah, I think I was thinking about that yesterday. I might put it into my deck. I might actually need to sleeve my Ima deck on stream, depending on how long this ends up going on. But yeah, okay. The kind of like the main thing that I actually wanted to do on stream was to talk about why I ended up bringing Moria. Like, obviously, I talked about its matchups, and it has like pretty solid matchups across the board. But there's a lot of decks I ended up trying. You know, I tried a whole bunch of decks. Like, I tried Purple the Flamingo. I even tried Red Luffy, the ST21 version, I believe it is. I tried Purple the Flamingo. Did I just say that? I tried Carrot. I tried Black Yellow Luffy. I tried Blue Yellow Ace. I tried Black Crocodile. Oh, I just saw someone talking about Black Crocodile. I think Black Crocodile is good in this meta. You just basically play on curve. The 7-cost Luffy as well makes your leader 7k as well. Really, really nice for that deck. You go 7k and then you just 8-cost Crocodile loop and just stun, and you just spread out your board with 7-cost all Sunday, and you hit the opponent's leader, and then you're like, yay, good game. You shake their hand. I tried a bunch of decks, but I decided to bring Moria. Unfortunately, my matchups on the day were a little bit unfortunate. They're really, really bad. I'll say it bluntly. I ended up hitting SC29 Luffy, which is basically non-existent in the meta, 6 life leader. I hit Roger, which is also like, what the fuck? And then I hit Blue Nami, which I was expecting, but that was the like one meta matchup that I was trying to avoid. So really unfortunate matchups on the day, but there's a lot of thought process that went into why we ended up choosing our decks. But before I post the list, hold on, it's like right here. I was just talking about it before. In the meantime, though, at Bandai Card Fest, oh, where is it? Where is it? I don't know where it is. But basically, at Bandai Card Fest, if you play in side events, then you can get a promo pack that has a bunch of shiny cards in it that like were given in a different way overseas, for example, or just were hard to obtain, or specifically art that was made for this thing. And I have that pack somewhere that I was going to open on stream, but I don't know where it is. If I find it, I'll open it. But unfortunately, I'm lifting up all of my really nice SleeveChief merchandise, which you can buy at my link in the description with the code Kai5. And I still don't find my pack. But what I do have for you guys is something a little bit rare, because my friend from Malaysia, good guy, brought me something that you can only find in Southeast Asia, which is the admirable collection. Woo! So I thought something that we could open up on stream. I think what's in this is there's like promo cards. There's a like Reiju card, which has the chance to be gold, but I think I heard that it's like a really low chance of being gold. And then there's like a bunch of packs in here. So we got the Reiju milk. So because I don't know where my EX pack is, I guess I'll open this. Hold on. I haven't fought against Karigara, but I have played a lot of Karigara. And Karigara against NL, if you win the dice roll, you win the game. If you lose the dice roll, it's a little bit harder, but it's still playable. The main thing for that deck is that Blue Yellow Nami existing makes it a bit difficult because the 7,000 power wall is pretty hard to get over. Okay. We have opened the Reiju milk. I don't think it's expired. I have to get out of screen every time I want something to focus on something that's not my face. But focusing. I really like this art, but I don't know if I'll actually end up using it. Maybe I'll give it to someone. And yeah, I mean, I heard the odds of pulling like the gold rage is really, really bad. But maybe if I'm streaming it, then Bandai's going to have some divine intervention and make sure that we get the golden one. We'll see. There's the Reiju, the art that we already know, but there's a little milk cart in there, so you know that it's more valuable, or maybe that's less valuable. We'll see. And so what I think there is 3 of this 2-cost Reiju, as well as the 4-cost Reiju, which has the chance to be golden. So let me disappear off screen again as I go through these. Please, thank you. Okay. Reiju. We got Reiju. Oh my god, do you think the 4th one's going to be Reiju as well? Ah! Okay, it's white. It's white, but I mean, the art's still really, really nice, and like the way that it shines. And we got that nice little Reiju milk carton stamp as well, so you know that it's I don't know what it would tell you. I don't know why they put that stamp there, but that's the Reiju milk promo pack. It's still a nice card, don't get me wrong, so I'm not disappointed that it's gold. But it comes with packs, so we'll open those as well, I guess. 8 packs, it seems, of a set that's impossible to find in Japan. EB03. I kind of want to hold on to one of these. I don't know, but they're like all... they're all pointing to Narnia right now, so I probably won't hold on to one of these, and I'll just hope that I can find one at some point. But yeah, we're an unboxing channel now, guys. So unfortunately, I don't have a good setup to like show you the cards as they're being unpacked, so I will have to just kind of hold them up to the screen like this for you guys. But let's open up some packs, and then maybe we'll talk about everything leading up to Bandai Card Game Fest. And then I'll tell you a little bit about my experience with Bandai Card Game Fest. Sorry, I stumbled over my words a little bit. Interestingly, I actually haven't opened up a single pack of the EB03 Heroes Edition thing, because I just generally don't buy packs that much. I just buy singles for the most part. So first time actually opening up some of these packs. Don't expect anything that big, but it would be nice if we did get something nice. So let me just slip off of screen once again. Oh, and Filippo Rossi, I think. Yeah, I'm going to be updating the Emu guide once I get a couple of more games, but I have been playing like a bunch of other decks, so I haven't been able to test Emu all too much OP15 quite yet. But I think the deck's good, so I will be updating the guide once I get enough games in. But yeah. Dun dun. Dun dun. Okay, Wanda. I can't read it from here. Viola. Arvida. Onis. And Sugar. I have a theory that they called it Heroines Edition because there's only women in this pack. Unconfirmed though. And then, man, this is going to be tough. There we go. Robin. What does Robin do? Interesting. Okay, so it's like made for blue yellow Nami, but because it's counterless, people don't actually run it. Oh, this thing again. I think this is the thing that summons a 6-cost Hancock, right? Rampe. Harina. Amy. Shiraoshi. Broken card. For a not so broken deck. Oh, that's true. Yeah, Red Green Smoker should have been usable for the Heroines Cup. Yeah. You know what's sad is I actually got into one of those Heroines Cup. We actually only had one across all of Japan. And I got into it, but unfortunately because of my work, I couldn't end up going. So I never had the chance to play in one of those cups. My god, come on, guys. Okay. Wanda. やっぱり、俺らが大騒ぎだ。ブラックマリア。BB5. And Margaret, the Jozo at home. Funny thumbnail. Thank you. I made it in like 2 minutes. I hope you're talking about this one. I don't know. I didn't think it was that funny. Didn't. Oh, broken card. It's the 1-cost search anything if your leader's Nami. Designed specifically by Netanyahu himself. Clean Gotch. Berobeti. Ain. Kajak. Colby's another deck that's like good. It might actually be better now that Hancock's player is going down. I might need to revisit Colby a little bit. But because Hancock's player rate's been going down, there's a world where that deck might actually be good. Might need to revisit it a little bit because I think it did fine into NL for the most part because you have so much power reduction. You just like slam all of your attacks into the opponent's 6-cost NL and you whittle down their resources because that deck just inherently doesn't have all too many resources. I don't know for sure though. I think it has a chance to exist. I don't know if it ends up being good. We have Nami. Not Nami, sorry, Robin. Miss Double Finger. Okay, no, I should just read the name of this because it's come up 3 times now. 口説き物を控えよらしいです。口説き物を控えよ。カリーナ。Baby 5. And Uruti. I remember this Uruti just plays out like a page 1 or something, right? Oh no, it just plays out of vanilla, basically. It's not the worst, it's not the best. Didn't. Woo. Got. And is it gonna focus? There we go. It looks really nice when it focuses, just takes a little while for it to decide to focus. We have Hiyori, Grampe, Charlotte Smoothie, Black Maria, Amy, Carrot. That's cute. Okay. you guys are starting to see how my packs usually are, where I just don't get anything every time that I open up packs, which is why I only open up singles. But we have 2 more packs left that we will make our way through. Hopefully we'll find something a little bit cool towards the end. We have... Oh, I know what that is even without it focusing. That's Makeyoshimi, which is just the Uta Radical Beam. Makeyoshimi... Makino. やっぱりお前らか、やっぱりお前らか、この大騒ぎが。バカラ。ハリファ。Oh. Tashigi. Yay, we got an SR. I really like the art on this Tashigi, even though the card's kind of bad. The art's really nice. I wish the card was a little bit better, but maybe someday. Maybe someday. We have 4 years for it to be good. And then we have last pack. We're gonna get anything? Likely not, but we've already opened it up. Miss Valentine. Oh, did you guys watch the live action? I really liked the Baroque Works Asians. Mr. Nine especially, the the twink with the crown. I really liked him a lot. As someone who's been called a twink for a large period of my life, I resonate with him. He did a very good job. I enjoyed his role. Birobeti. And is this the last card? Ah, okay. Let's move on. Let's move on. We didn't open up packs today. Nothing happened. Yeah. Always buy singles, guys. Yeah. But hey, at the very least, I don't even know where the Reiju went. Oh, there it is. This is just under my pile of cards, completely unsleeved. We still got this, though, which is the bare minimum. But I like this card, so I'm happy about that. I really like this card. There was the chance that this could have been used in NL, but didn't really fit into the deck list. Yeah. Is BI Luffy back? I'm gonna need a deck list at some point. Anyways. Let me tell you the story of everything that went down in choosing our decks for Bandai Card Game Fest. And hopefully I can find... I kept a spreadsheet of all of my games, but I ended up... I got lazy and stopped updating it after a little bit. Hmm. Okay. Let me try to find it. No, I can't find it, unfortunately. But I'll set the stage for you guys. Okay. Here is the story of what ended up going down at Bandai Card Game Fest, as well as exactly how I decided to end up playing Black Yellow Moria alongside my team. So let's start from the end, right? Our team in the end was Purple NL, blue-yellow Hancock, and black-yellow Moria. I'll talk about this more when we start to get to this point, but these decks essentially the meta has like most of the time 1 to 2 decks, usually 2 decks that are the best decks within the format, and you have to choose the third deck that's going to go alongside them as the one to pick up wins when your first 2 decks don't actually end up winning. So what you want to do in this situation is to choose a deck that has the most similar matchups to the top of the meta. Now, the top of the meta generally would have, like, for example, you have purple NL, who has a really good matchup across the board, but struggles against blue-yellow Nami. Hancock as well has a really solid matchup across the board into a lot of random decks, but struggles into blue-yellow Nami. So the puzzle is to try to find another deck that has a similar sort of matchup spread, a matchup spread that struggles against blue-yellow Nami, but does really well into the other things. Now, most of the time you think, isn't that just the next best deck in the meta? But the next best deck in the meta would either be blue-yellow Nami or Lucy, and their matchup spreads are a little bit different. Blue-yellow Nami, of course, is 50-50 into Nami. A lot of it comes down to the dice roll, unfortunately, but has a couple of other bad matchups like Lucy, which aren't necessarily as bad for a deck like Hancock or NL, though Hancock versus Lucy is a little bit worse for Hancock now. But so Nami has a different matchup spread from the rest of the decks. So unless you get really lucky with your pairings, you can get really lucky with your pairings where you just keep hitting your good matchups and your teammate keeps hitting their good matchups. Or you can be really unlucky, where as the blue-yellow Nami player, you're hitting all of the Lucy's, and the NL player is hitting all of the like NL or something. And if you just happen to like switch your seats, and it's like, if we were just changing where we were sitting, then we would have just been 9-0. But these are the things that end up happening in 3v3s. It's also the thing that happens in 1v1s, but it's a little bit more apparent in 3v3s. Now, as the third deck, you don't want to have that much randomness because there's already so many random factors. You don't want the seat that you're sitting in to be the other random factor that you end up blaming once you end up losing. So what you want to do is to choose 3 decks that have similar sorts of matchup spreads. Blue Nami was out of that question, and Lucy as well was a little bit wrong based on things that we talked about as well. So I was trying to find some kind of weird decks that may also fit into that bill. I tried a bunch of decks. The very first deck that I tried was going to be Carrot. Carrot was the very first deck that I was thinking about for this meta because I was thinking that Electro Luna is extremely good in this meta. The idea was that the very beginning of the meta, everyone wants to play the new leaders, and obviously because Bandai has been power creeping the hell out of the game, I was thinking that the most popular decks on day one were going to be Yellow Luffy, the Sky Luffy, OP15, Bell Luffy, as everyone has a different name for him, as well as Purple NL. And Carrot does have a very good matchup into those two, but struggles a lot into also does very well into Hancock. So the idea was to play Carrot to beat Yellow Luffy, Hancock, as well as Purple NL, and basically just throw away everything else. And I went to 3v3 on day one, an unofficial 3v3 with a couple of friends down in Kyoto. Fortunately, I didn't end up hitting any of those decks, so I ended up losing. I hit things like Ace, I hit things like Red Green Luffy, I hit things like Colby, but Colby was running the 8-cost Smoker and Tashi, which makes his leader 7k. So I was like, dude, come on. Can you please not increase your leader's power? But so Carrot was the first idea that I had that kind of fit this bill. And as the meta started to develop, and as people were starting to realize that, like, wait, Blue Yanami's really, really good in this meta, our team had to make the decision. Do we want to choose 3 decks that beat Blue Yanami so that we can guarantee having 1 win? Or are we going to choose 3 decks that lose to Blue Yanami, which guarantees us 1 loss? Assuming that they actually end up losing, although, like, we may end up winning that game, but guarantees 2 people not hitting Blue Yellow Nami. And we ended up going with the latter. We were going to go, sure, if we hit Blue Yellow Nami, we're going to sacrifice him. The other 2 of us are going to have to win our games. This is how we decided to build our team, which is why I need to find a deck that specifically beat everything that's not Blue Yellow Nami. I tried things like Purple Doflamingo, who surprisingly does pretty well into Blue Yellow Nami. The issue with Purple Doflamingo was that the Purple Doflamingo versus Purple NL matchup was very, very dice roll dependent. Same with the Lucy matchup. Also, if you don't find like 2 Virgos into Lucy, then it gets a little bit difficult as well. There's a lot of things that can go around that matchup. So Purple the Flamingo, while very powerful, overall very solid pick within the meta, a little bit unstable. Yellow Luffy, another option, a deck that does really, really well into the meta as a whole, struggles a lot into Blue Yellow Nami, but it also tends to struggle a little bit into Hancock because Hancock players have been just healing over and over again, while Luffy can heal as well. And both players have equal sort of resistance to their board being cleared. It's easier for Hancock to actually push over Luffy because she has better trigger, like in quality. She has things like Gorgon Sister, she has things like Shakuyaku, whereas Luffy, he's generally playing his cards out of hand. 7-cost Robin into the 5-cost Luffy. And so while Luffy has really good cards, generally what ends up happening into Blia Hancock is that both of you are just heal, 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 heal. But eventually, because Blia Hancock has bigger characters, then you can end up getting overrun. Now, maybe this can end up changing if Yellow Luffy's deck list changed a little bit to maybe put in things like the 10-cost NL. I think that could be a card that could potentially come back, also as a tech for the Blue Yellow Nami matchup. But when we were testing it, Yellow Luffy was a solid deck that just had a couple too many bad matchups where like we expected most teams to have Blue Yellow Nami and we expected most teams to have Hancock. And if you had a somewhat losing matchup into both of them, made it a little bit risky to bring a deck like Yellow Luffy. So messing around, I'm also talking to some of my friends. I have a lot of friends on speed dial who have histories of being big meta copers. You can think of people like Rene, Reiju One Trick. Oh, maybe. And I was thinking about saying maybe I should give him the Reiju card, but no, he can buy it himself. Big Reiju One Trick. Recently, he was an EMA player, but you know a lot of people have fallen to EMA. There's also Nor. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. The guy who won a regional on Red Blue Marco. So I was like talking to these guys. I'm thinking like, do you have any sort of cope for OP15? Anything that could be good in these specific parameters that we've set? And this is after I already put out my video saying like I played 200 games, 200 plus games. I've played more than Card Kaizoku, 200 plus games of OP15. I was trying to figure out what do I actually end up playing because I've tried Red Yellow Bonnie. It's not really quite right for the way that I like to play the game, and it doesn't really convincingly beat NL in the way that I was expecting it to. Roger as well, I tried that deck, and once again, you get to 9,000 power, but at that point, you're going to be at like 1 or 0 life, and the opponent's character is a little bit too high in power, so not very convincing, though it does have a good Blue Yellow Nami matchup. I asked these guys, is there anything that I haven't tried that I really should try? And Rene, as well as Abster, which just by saying their names, you probably know what I'm going to talk about, is I should play Moria. And I thought, like, they're kidding. Because, like, Moria has been their cope since the beginning of OP14. And I asked them, like, is this a bit? Is it not a bit? Is it actually good? And then they told me, honestly, like, you lose versus Blue Yellow Nami, but you beat, like, basically everything else in the meta. I'm like, that's what I'm looking for. So I play a bunch of Black Yellow Moria. I figured out there's also extremely helpful was the Metafy guide from them as well. I got their Metafy guide on Black Yellow Moria, which I will link in the chat because I'm talking about it. One second, sorry guys. Anyways, I'll just throw the link in chat. Just if you guys are interested in it. But so I read this guide and like it was actually really good because like they showed like 5 or 6 starting hands and explained why you should or shouldn't keep it. They talked about the general curve because it's going to be same for most of the time. Just as an aggro deck, you generally want to have the same starting curve. You go 1, 3, 4 cost plus leader effect into the 6 cost Moria, into the 8 cost Moria to play a character onto the board, that sort of thing. And so I was trying to get up to speed really quickly because this was 4 days before Bandai Card Game Fest. So I'm sitting there reading these cards for the first time because I've never really given Moria that much attention aside from just like looking at the deck list when I'm talking about it for a video, for example. Trying to learn how this deck works. And I realized like it's a really fun deck. It's also like it's very complicated, but in different ways. because a lot of times what's complicated about decks is knowing when you shouldn't counter, when you should take life, um, how to manage your resources. Whereas Black Yellow Moria has no resource management. All of his complexity comes in your leader effect, what you trash from your board to get your effects, and also when you use your on attack effect where you heal life. So just learning exactly like the combos that exist, for example, because the 6-cost Moria can play the 4-cost Hogback, but it plays it rested. So you can go like 6-cost Moria into 4-cost Hogback, then leader effect, kill the Hogback, then play something out active, then get the on-play effect, for example, if it's like Perona, for example. And like this is much better than just playing the 6-cost Moria into the 4-cost Perona, for example. So like lots of small combos that you need to understand as Moria. And then once you get these combos down and once you sort of understand how to manipulate your trash, what you're looking for within your trash, and what plays are possible, like for example, like we talked about with the 6-cost Moria into the 4-cost Zoro combo to give you 1 life, the deck's like really, really flexible. You can play aggressively, which is how you play against decks like Yellow Luffy, like Purple NL, like a lot of the decks, basically every deck that's 5,000 power. But you can also play very slowly as well, healing life very slowly, playing for resources. You use your 4-cost Hogback to play the 1-cost Lilith to increase your hand size while also looking for your top end, like the 8-cost Moria, 9-cost Hancock. You chain those together and you slowly push over a deck like Blue Yellow Nami. This deck has a lot of modes where you want to push the game quickly in the beginning, but if that doesn't work, you can take your take your foot off the pedal, slow down a little bit, play. Oh, sorry for hitting the microphone. Play the game a little bit more slowly, relax a little bit, wait for your 9-cost Hancocks to burn their last life, and then in the end, because of your leader effect, all of your characters on the board are going to be 11,000 power, and you just go like 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, and then they end up just losing. And it's like difficult in a lot of ways, but simple in some other ways too. So it was a lot of fun and a really, honestly, good deck to bring to this event. It's just unfortunately the matchups weren't as I expected. I was expecting to hit the top of meta stuff because, as I mentioned, I think the deck beats NL, it beats Yellow Luffy, it beats Hancock, and it beats Lucy. So the Lucy matchup is a little bit closer to 50-50, but it's still winning from my testing. The only matchup that I didn't want to hit was Blue Yellow Nami. So 4 out of 5 matchups I feel fine in. But the thing is that, like, in early rounds, like in Japan, we have these things called landmine players, where they're never going to top because they brought a really bad deck. Let's say Roger. They brought Roger to an event, and Roger gets completely steamrolled by a lot of the meta. They're not going to end up topping the event, but it just happens to be that you hit the one Roger in the room, and that one Roger has a really, really good matchup into your one deck that you're playing. So he goes ramp, 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 9,000 power, 9,000 power, 9,000 power permanently. My entire board is 5,000 power. Even if my leader effect's 6,000 power, I can't get any attacks through onto the opponent's leader. I just end up rolling over and dying. So unfortunately, that's what ends up happening with some of your matchups. I didn't hit the matchups that I was looking for, and my teammates were trying to carry me, but unfortunately, they also had a couple of weird matchups as well. So unfortunately, didn't end up going the way that we wanted it to go. I think that if we made it past round 3-0, then we'd start to hit some of those really solid meta decks. But because we couldn't make it to that point, unfortunately, in the end, our team ended up going, I believe, 1-3, which is unfortunate. But in side events, I went 3-1 with Moria. So that was fun, at least. But yeah, that is the story about how I ended up bringing Black Yellow Moria to my event, all the thought process that went into choosing the deck, as well as I played an insane amount of games in the last couple of days. I also played the ranked sim for the first time, just because I needed as many games as possible. And there's a lot of people that were like, "Are you the real Aikai Kai?" Which was really nice to hear from you guys. So thank you if you were one of the people. The Roger slander. I'm sorry, Brian. But yeah, I was not expecting to see a Roger on the day, so like, and not only that, I wasn't expecting to see a SC29 Luffy, which is the other miserable matchup that I don't want to hit. But unfortunately, in the end, it didn't end up working out. But I am still happy with the deck choice. I think that my training with how little time I had was very, very solid. I had a good understanding of the deck despite the limited amount of time that I had. I think it was the correct deck to bring with our team composition. But unfortunately, because this meta is so jungly, you never really know what you're going to end up hitting on the day. And so, unfortunately, though we didn't end up doing too well, I'm still happy that I was able to die together with my friends. Yeah, it was fun. So, like, all's well that ends well at the very least. But I will say that Bandai Card Game Fest as a whole, maybe you saw my tweet, I was not enthusiastic about. Let me pull that up now. Just because it kind of ties in well. One second. Okay. UP Luffy in 15. You lose to Hancock, you lose to NL. But both of those decks play rates are coming down, so it has the chance to come back. But I can't say for sure because rotation's also around the corner, and like losing Bagua and losing the 9-cost Mihawk can kind of suck. Like if 9-cost Mihawk existed, then like I think that the deck's probably chilling, but we'll have to kind of see how the deck's going to change with rotation. Kobe also seems pretty good. It was, yeah, but let's talk a little bit about Bandai Card Game Fest. Put out a tweet. Bandai Card Game Fest was completely overrun by scalpers, so all I could do was lose and go home. Worse event than last year. How's it getting worse? Which is, I mean, I said it, so obviously this is what I think. But another thing, be a bit more specific, that yeah, I see like every region always talks about how terrible their Bandai Card Game Fest is, and I've never had that experience because, interestingly, Bandai Card Game Fest like last year, they had everything in the same venue. Maybe it's that way for the West as well, but they had like Gundam, they had Digimon, they had like their other card games that no one really cares about. I know is it? I'm not saying that Battle Spirits no one cares about. I don't remember if it's Battle Spirits or Duel Masters. That's the other big Bandai card game. But they have like a bunch of other small games as well, and then like a really big One Piece section. But they had everything together. So like what was really nice about last year was that like I can go and play in the One Piece events, but then like when once there's nothing to do, I can like just go have fun and like try Gundam. I can try Digimon or something. But I think that like this year for some reason they decided to split the venue between like One Piece and non-One Piece, which means that the One Piece venue was just One Piece. So there's nothing to do except One Piece, which was a bit unfortunate because it didn't really feel like I was at the Bandai Card Game Fest. It felt like I was at a normal regional. And normal regionals in Japan, most of the time, because of the way that pricing works, you don't really get all too much. You just show up, you play like your games, you try your best. Even if you go 7-2, you don't make top cut most of the time, and then you go home. But before you go home, you buy a couple of things at the shop. But for some reason, I couldn't. Because even though our team ended up going 1-3, which is pretty fast, unfortunately, for these kinds of events, most of the time I end up surviving like at least 6 or 7 rounds. But this time we ended up losing quickly, but we were like, okay, we lost, but that's fine. We'll go get stuff from the store. We go to the line in the store, and they show us a sign that says that already there's like 6 or 7. Sorry, I keep saying 6, 7, but there's 6 or 7 exclusive things to Bandai Card Game Fest, and they show that like 4 of them are already sold out, and like the 2 to 3 that are left are like sleeves as well as a card collection. But the card collection probably is going to sell out as well because there's like 300 people in line, and it's like an insanely long line. Um, and like this is basically as fast as we could get in the line as a player. This is like almost as fast as you could lose, and we get into line and already everything's sold out. uh, and but so what ended up happening is that a lot of people signed up for the events at the One Piece card game venue, whether it's the flagship battles that they're holding at Bandai Card Game Fest, or it's the 3v3, and they just didn't show up to the round one. They showed up, they registered, they got a round one opponent, but they didn't go to the table because they were lining up for the store. So like what ended up happening is that it made the event really weird because a bunch of people got round one buys, and also the people who were actually playing the game trying to win weren't able to buy stuff because the people who were there to buy stuff weren't playing the game. They were just lining up like 500 scalpers, just buying stuff. And then I'm looking over every now and then, round to round, seeing like if the line's like a little bit shorter, maybe I can find some time to sneak in between rounds. But the line's just astronomically long for hours on end. And by the time that I can finally line up, everything's basically already gone. So unfortunately, all I could do yesterday was go 1-3 in the main event. I went to side events. I went X1. So I got a little promo pack, which I'm still looking for. If I can find that, then I'll open that on stream as well. And basically just went home because there's nothing else to do. Oh, yeah, Union Arena is also a good one. But yeah, no, it was a bit of a disaster. It was really, really bad. The funny thing is also, like, you know how Disney kind of hides their lines? Where, like, it doesn't look that bad on the surface, but, like, once you get inside, there's like, "Oh my god, there's another layer of things, wrapping around." Basically, what the venue was like, here's a little bit of a frame-by-frame analysis for you guys. Okay. Here's the like, the goods store, right? Yikes. That's an E. Here's the goods store, and, like, here is the, like side events. So, like, at this booth and these are, like, kind of small stores where there's, like, 6 people, um, like, sell you stuff. So it's, like, not, like, a massive booth, like, 6 people basically as, like, cash registers. Like, the side events booth is more like you play your side events, like, over here at the tables, and then, like, once you finish, you come and, like, show them your results, then they'll give you prizing. And then, like, that's just how, like, the side events work in Japan. But so the line was, like, going like this, and I thought it kept going like this. And I was, like, around here or something for a while trying to line up, like, before the event actually started because I got there a little bit early, and I was like, "Okay, it's fine. I have, like, 10 minutes before I need to be in my seat. Like, I should be able to get there in time." But this wasn't what the line looked like. What the line looked like was this. And so the second and, like, I was thinking, like, I see once I'm at this point, I'm like, "Oh, it doesn't go this way. It goes this way, huh?" And I thought that I would wrap around to this point, but then once I get to this point and I see all these people here, I'm like, "Fuck, I can't do this right now." So I end up giving up on the line to get to my round 1, which is the sensible thing to do, which no one else around me does. Everyone's still lined up. I don't know if they end up making it to their round 1, but because I'm thinking, like, I'm not gonna make it to round 1 if I'm in this line, I leave the line around this point to, go play in my games, thinking, like, I'll go buy the stuff later, but the line was, like, permanently this long for the entire day. It was completely absurd. So, unfortunately, that was my Bandai Card Game Fest experience. Yeah, and, oh, here's my, Moria deck list. That's 4-cost Zoro, and also there's, 4-cost Hogback, but I just, didn't sleeve one of them. But yeah, that was my Bandai Card Game Fest experience. It was, not one that I hope repeats because last year was a lot of fun. The year before that also really, really fun. I think a lot of that was the fact that it coincided with Worlds. I think that, like, something happened this year where Worlds and Bandai Card Game Fest felt like they were much lower in budget. So, not as exciting this year. Yeah, but yeah, Jam Jump Jumpy Fuck, I'm sorry, I can't read your name. I'm really, really sorry. But, yeah, I don't run a 5-cost Borsellino because if I run 5-cost Borsellino, then I either have to raw draw it, which most of the time is worse than just playing a Hancock or a Moria, or I have to run Quasar and Hyori, and I don't have the space for those kinds of cards because this deck doesn't necessarily need that many 2Ks or counter events because this deck fights with life total rather than actual counter in hand. Yeah. Anyways, I'm still optimistic though that they're going to make things better, especially with global release right around the corner. But unfortunately, this event was just a little bit iffy, if you understand what I mean. Oh, I actually saw, sorry, I was, like, in the middle of a long talk before, so I couldn't actually, like, interact with chat all too much. But, Atrocious, I saw you in the chat before. No, I didn't try Blue Purple Kaido, I'm sorry. I also think that deck is rotating, so I can't have played that. This actually, I don't know if people know this, this, tournament was with rotation, meaning that there was no Red Rock, there was no 8 Kid, for example. And, I will be streaming tomorrow as well, tomorrow morning, around the time that I started today, so oh, sorry, my camera died. 1 second. Give me 1 second. I still haven't fixed this problem, where I have to actually change the batteries in my camera. But I'll probably be streaming tomorrow, and I'll talk more about exactly what's going to be changing with rotation, because there's a lot of cards that are going to be rotating that are maybe not equally as impactful as 8 Kid or Red Rock, but very interesting to talk about. So the other thing that I wanted to do today was to, because I was at the event yesterday, I didn't actually watch the games from Bandai Card Game Fest. So I might retroactively watch those, maybe talk about the meta as we go through them. I don't know who's uploaded videos or like who was live commentating on the videos yesterday, so hopefully it's not like that much of repetitive content for you guys, but I do just want to watch those games because I'm playing the OP15 meta right now and I missed those games yesterday, so I might do that on stream. But I guess we'll take a little bit of a break and answer some questions because I see a lot of questions coming through. Like, blade on splat, blood on. I'm sorry. I can't believe every single time I look at a name, I can't read it. But Red Black Subble. I assume that you're talking about the. Oh yeah, of course you're talking about the recent one. I keep mixing up Red Black Subble and Red Blue Lucy because they're the same person kind of. But Red Black Subble struggles in this meta. You're 6K kind of, but 6K is an easy stat line to hit for NL because his leader effect gives him 4 dong to a character, which means that he's consistently hitting for like 6-6, 6-6, and he's going to keep hitting you for 10-10, 10-10 as well. So NL's a bit difficult. And like that's the main matchup that's really come back in this meta, or not come back, sorry, come into this meta. While you have things like Blue Yaonami, Hancock as well that are still prominent within this meta. But all in all, Sabo just recently has been feeling a little bit worse than he was in OP14. Yellow NL, I initially was completely writing off. Let me put the camera back on me. Oh my god, I keep hitting the mic, I'm sorry. Yellow NL is a deck that I was initially putting off because in my mind, I was thinking, oh, hold on, is there a way to get chat on the screen? That would be a nice way, because I could just have it like right here. I know that there's like a plugin that does that. I have no idea how to do that right now. Maybe I'll try to figure it out for tomorrow. Let me see. Not display capture. Oh. Hold on. Wait. Oh. Oh! We got it. This is a bit janky, but we have a chat now. Okay. Man, that's crazy. Oh, dude, now I feel like a streamer. What were we talking about? Yellow NL. So yellow NL, initially I completely wrote off because the deck felt like it had many more problems than just not having Daigo. But the thing is that like yellow NL has insane survivability. Um, while also having things like Nigel, you also have a lot of different ways to heal. And so what I think what could end up happening, though I could be completely wrong about NL, is that what could be possible is that the reason why NL before was playing so many 10 costs and 9 costs before is because those were the only cards that healed back in the day. You had things like 9 cost Yamato and 10 cost Ace. Also, a little bit later, things like the 10 cost NL. These are the only cards that healed you before the 6 cost Kuma was printed. Once the 6 cost Kuma was printed, we basically just opened up the floodgates. Like, now we have 5 cost Borsellino, we have 4 cost Zoro as well. And so my theory is that, like, potentially the reason why NL was running these higher end characters, yes, of course, the late game deck, but also it's the only way that he had to actually recover his 1 life for his leader effect. But sorry, I keep burping. But because there's so many different ways to heal life now, I'm not sure if you need to play towards top end anymore. Or like if you play towards top end, I don't know if you need that many. Like maybe you run for 10 cost NL, or maybe you run for 10 cost Ace or something, and that's it. And then otherwise, you could also, for example, run the Thriller Bark package, which I think could be pretty solid as well. But like you have a lot of different ways to heal now that maybe you can play a little bit lower in power. Now I don't know if yellow actually has great ways to spread board. Unfortunately, things like the 7 cost Robin are leader locked, so it's hard to actually like spread out your board and play aggressive. But there's potential in that, I think. So I think that like there could be a way to make yellow NL work, but I would think that it would be pretty different from the way that it was before if it were to work. Black Yellow Luffy, I think he has potential, but I think the deck is far too hard to actually build right now that I haven't actually been able to really make the plunge. Like I've messed around with some lists. I think there's 2 drastically different ways that you can take that list. You can focus more historically on the 2 cost I don't know what they're called in English. We call them the babies into the adults. Um, that mechanic of sort of leveling them up and making your leader 7k, that could exist. But also there's a different version which would run the 8 cost Nami as well as the 7 cost Robin to just keep your life total as high as possible. So like you go down to 0 life, use your leader effect to get 2 life, then you use the 7 cost Robin to get 1 more life, so you go up to 3 with a very easy to use card in your leader effect. So like, and you just don't run the babies at all, and you just keep healing over and over again. You get these like 7 cost 8,000 power rush attacks in the opponent's leader. Or I guess technically you could play a hybrid of the 2. And I think that probably the hybrid would be the best, but just balancing what you need from every package is really difficult for that deck that I haven't actually been able to really cook it that much. So I think the deck has potential. I don't know if it's like until someone makes the deck, I can't actually properly evaluate it. That's, I mean, it's kind of what I'm doing. Yeah, it's it works. You know, you see the chat. This is a 2026. This is the modern innovation. This is all we need. Did I watch the live action? Yes, I have opinions on that. I enjoyed it for the most part. I thought it was really, really fun. I liked it a lot in the atmosphere that it built up. I also really like Usopp. Like, I don't like Usopp that much in the manga, but I really, really liked Usopp in the live action. He's probably like the best Straw Hat. And conversely, I don't love Zoro that much in the live action because it feels like he's just kind of aura farming all day, or he's just kind of like, yeah, if the let's test if the sword's really cursed, throws it up in the air, I'll take it. Which to be fair, he does in the manga as well. But like the thing is, especially in like the early manga, Zoro was a lot more jovial. You know, he was laughing a lot, he was happy. He wasn't as edgy. So unfortunately, I feel like he was a little bit too edgy for my liking. But not to say that he's a bad character. I think he was cool, just what I would have preferred maybe. And other than that, the only thing that I was disappointed about was the way that they treated some of the famous scenes. Like there's a lot of like really iconic scenes from the manga and anime, and they kind of remastered them, remixed them in new ways where like they were in different settings or the delivery was a little bit different. I don't want to go into spoilers all too much, but there's the very iconic Luffy holding up the flag in Drum Island towards the end when Wapol decides to destroy the flag, and I feel like they should have been a little bit closer to the source material in how they presented it visually. Like, the lines are all the same, but, like, the way that they show them is a little bit different, and, like, I was a little bit like, it's like, I know what they're doing, but, like, I really wish they did, like, the iconic scene. Other than that, though, I really liked it, though. How did you guys like it? Did you guys watch the live action? I've missed a lot of questions. Maybe I'll sort of rattle through a couple of them. Karagara, I have tried. Karagara loses to Enel if you lose the dice, but he wins if he wins the dice, and he does okay into some of the other meta, but he struggles into blue, yellow, Nami. Green Bonnie. Trying to remember. Oh yeah, it was like Green Bonnie struggles a lot into the new decks that exist, but like if Blue Yellow Nami tends to come back, then like maybe it'll end up being good once again. So kind of see how the meta is going to end up changing, see if Green Bonnie can come back. But I don't think that Green Bonnie is probably going to come back, especially with some pretty key cards historically, like 8 cost Kid rotating out. Though obviously the deck has a lot of different modes. Not having access to that as an option, I think could hurt the deck a little bit alongside there being some more difficult matchups now, like Purple NL um, and Lucy, for example. But I mean, the Lucy matchup may be a little bit weirder, but it's kind of hard to say exactly. Blue Yellow Ace, yeah, I did a lot of Blue Yellow Ace testing. I think the deck is really, really good. There's a lot of crazy things you can do. Like you can set up the top of your deck with the 5 cost Ace and then immediately heal that the next turn. So like for example, if you set up with the 5 cost Ace a Quasar onto the top of your life, and then after that you heal with like the 5 cost Borsalino, for example, then you can basically play out Borsalino twice with just one Borsalino and that 5 cost Ace. And also the 5 cost Ace is a blocker as well. So like the deck, when it goes crazy, it goes really, really crazy. But the issue that I had with the deck was that like getting going, getting that initial snowball rolling is sometimes a little bit inconsistent. So like therefore you have to run things like the 1 cost Garp and the 1 cost like search event to like be able to find those babies. But like for example, if you ever miss out on the 2 cost babies, or if you ever miss out on the 5 cost adults from your leader effect, which you don't have that much control over unless you have that 5 cost Ace on the board, the blue blocker one, the deck suddenly is just like all of its aggression's halted. You don't get out a character for 2 dong and you don't become 7,000. So like missing out on your leader effect once, really, really devastating. But if you can manage to find the things that you need, the deck is really good. The only thing that I don't like about it is that it doesn't have as much consistency. Krolzer has a solid BI list. I don't doubt it. You know, Krolzer is really, really good. Like all of his deck lists, I really appreciate. He's also a I'm blanking. Blue Purple Sanji Coper as well, so I really like that. Yeah, they skipped Lapang, which is crazy. Yeah. How they made. Yeah, no, there's like a lot of awkward things about the live action, but like overall, I enjoyed it. Like I think that like really what you're here for is the vibes, and like the vibes were like immaculate, you know? So like that's like all you can really ask for a show like this, because like it's always going to be goofy. You know, it's you can't make One Piece and not make it goofy, and if you try to make it more serious, it's not One Piece. But also, if you make it goofy, then people are going to take it seriously. So there's like a lot of awkward things about the live action, but overall, I think they did a really good job. There's just like some scenes that I wish were done a little bit different. Yeah. I saw someone talking about Red Yellow Bonnie. Oh yeah, Red Yellow Bonnie struggles into like it does well into Nami. So like I think it has the chance to come back into the meta as people are going to respond to this meta that's been being built up. You know, like because Nami's so prevalent, I think that people are going to start playing other decks like Nami, for example, or sorry, like Bonnie, for example, to try to combat that. People may also start playing Blue Purple Luffy. People may start playing Emu once again because Nami's popularity is so high right now. But the reason why Red Yellow Bonnie right now is not very popular is because the Purple NL matchup is not as winning as I expected it to be, because Purple NL can also, like, he builds up a very, very big board very quickly. He's hitting for like 10,000 over and over again. So even though your leader's at 9,000 power, you're still going to have to keep giving away counter. But also, Because NL has pretty easy power reduction, what ends up happening is that anything that's not the 10 cost Nika is very easy for NL to take out because you just reduce it by 1k power and suddenly you're hitting like 10k into the opponent's 8,000 power 7 cost Zoro. So it's very tricky for like Rediel to actually build up her board, which is why the purple NL matchup is a little bit tricky. But I think that like, although Daigo doesn't actually solve the NL matchup, Ready Albani does pretty well into like a lot of the other decks in the meta. So I think that especially with rotation right around the corner, and also because Pudding's going to be banned very soon, I think the deck could be a lot more popular. But I think really it's going to, we're going to have to see how the meta's going to settle. But I think that Red Yellow Bonnie as well as Sky Luffy are like the big winners of rotation as well as the ban list. Yeah, yeah. I feel I understand how you feel about Carrot. I really want to make that deck work, but it always feels like I think that if that deck had like one more searcher, like Viola, like 1 cost 2,000 power, 3 card searcher for a Mink slash Soul, let's say, I think that like that deck would suddenly go like really hard. But the deck just suffers a little bit for consistency right now. Yeah. Missed if you talked about Mihawk. I did not talk about Mihawk yet. So we'll talk briefly about Mihawk. Mihawk was like he actually does decently into NL. But the issue with Mihawk is that now he struggles a lot into Lucy, and Lucy just, having a bunch of power reduction, he also has like a minus 8k. Basically makes so that all of the characters that come out of Mihawk, once you use your leader effect and become rested, really easy to take out with Lucy. Not only that, but because Lucy has 7 cost 9,000 power blocker, very tricky to actually get over that hurdle. So while I think that Mihawk is like fine, there's a couple of matchups you really don't want to hit within this meta. Black Croc, I think, is good. I think Black Croc is very solid. You have the means of making your leader 7k now, which means that you're more resilient against smaller attacks, thanks to the 7-cost Nightmare Luffy. And you also have ways of dealing with the opponent's larger attacks because you can deny attacks, and especially in OP15, because there's a lot more lower to the ground characters, the 6-cost NL being 6 costs, as well as the 5-cost Luffy being 5 cost. Surprise. Makes it so that your 8-cost Crocodile is very good within this meta. And not only that, because Red Blue Ace's play rate has been coming down, I think he's pretty solid. I did have him, I did try him a lot. The main reason why I didn't end up bringing him was because I didn't have enough practice in the purple NL matchup, and I wasn't convinced that I could actually survive against like the onslaught of 6k slash 7k attacks that can come out in the case that I don't draw that 7-cost Nightmare Luffy. I'm not even convinced that that 7-cost Nightmare Luffy would be enough for that matchup. But like, from what I've heard, it's a good matchup, but just I didn't have enough practice in that matchup, so I decided not to bring it. But I think the deck's overall pretty good. What do I think about Karigara? Have I not? I'm sorry, I think I meant answer this like very recently, but basically Karigara I think is solid right now. Like, a lot of it's dice roll dependent, but like he can do decent into the meta. He just loses to Nami. What cards do you play for UP Luffy? I haven't tried at all to make UP Luffy work yet with without rotation, or no, with rotation. I'm sorry, but I think that Noel Lim from Singapore did put out a list for UP Luffy, which you may be able to find. I think he's K3 Soju with a bunch of U's on Twitter. Thoughts on Purple Kata and Blue Kuzang? Blue Kuzang, I tried. Purple Kata, I have not. Blue Kuzang was decent. He does well into the OP15 leaders, but he struggles a little bit into a lot of the other leaders that exist, just to put it very simply. Like, he has some good matchups. Like, Ice Time is really good within this meta, but he doesn't have, like, the enough initiative to actually, like, push through, close out the game, if you know what I mean. Same thing with Zoro Sanji. I mean, not same thing, but like same sort of situation with Zoro Sanji, where like people were trying him a little bit. But like he did fall off pretty quickly in the meta. So like I didn't actually end up getting the chance to try him all too much in OP15. But because people stopped playing him, I just assume that he's not as good now. And yeah, Donzo, I do know that I can get a dummy battery, but I keep forgetting to buy one. Because like when I decide to stream, it's like very sudden. It's like maybe I'll stream tomorrow, but like I can't get something shipped to me like the same day, so difficult to actually find a dummy battery in time. Though, like, I mean, all I need to do is just buy it ahead of time, but I just haven't done that yet. But I mean, the battery situation I have going on right now isn't the worst. Fuck! Just as I say that, that's terrible timing. Never mind. Maybe the battery situation is really bad. Hold on. I will get a dummy battery soon. I just keep putting it off. Uh, God damn it, man. Hold on. I'm gonna buy a dummy battery right now if I can find it. Because I intend to stream tomorrow. Oh, but like, even if I guess it depends on what time it comes. Uh, um, what is this battery? We're solving this problem right now. See, I even have one that's saved for later. Does this work? Okay, okay. My camera's listed. Okay, guys, we're making progress. I will buy it right now so that if it comes in time, we'll be fixed for next time. But unfortunately, uh, today is not that day. Tomorrow expedited. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's gonna come in time for tomorrow, but it is ordered. Okay, so it'll be here tomorrow. This is how we need to go through life. Once there's a problem, we fix it. Now we go back to questions. Thoughts on Black Yellow Moria? Funny you should say that. I did actually play a lot of Black Yellow Moria. Ooh. I think if you want to hear my whole Black Yellow Moria spiel, it'd probably be better to just go back a little bit in the stream because I talked about that for a very, very long time. But yeah, I think Black Yellow Moria is very, very solid in this meta. And we'll have to see if things like Red Yellow Bonnie come back into the meta with rotation and bans. Maybe it'll be a bit more difficult to play, but for the time being, I think it's like a pretty underrated and very, very solid pick within this meta. Blue Yellow Nami matchup sucks though, so that's unfortunate. What beats Blue Yellow Nami? Blue Purple Luffy, Ema, Red Blue Ace. I think Red Yellow Bonnie, but I haven't tested that matchup. Like decks that can make really big things on the board, and Ema. Those decks beat Nami. Think about the 6 structure decks and Luffy and Ace. I haven't actually looked at that all too much. I think that like what the mechanic was really cool. The cards that I had seen. But I haven't really thought about the deck all too much. I'm gonna need to do that at some point. Maybe I'll take a look at it off stream, and then when I'm here tomorrow, probably gonna be here tomorrow, I'll give you my full thoughts on that. Streaming consistently, I just happen to be home right now, so I'll probably be gone for a little while once again. So maybe be like, I don't know when I'll end up streaming, but I can only stream when I'm at home because this is where I have the good internet and the good computer. But whereas everywhere else, I'm just going to be always on the move with my laptop, which makes it difficult to stream. So when I have the chance to, I'll stream, but I just generally don't have the chance to very recently. Shirahoshi, I haven't tested at all. You're gonna have to ask Rene. I think his YouTube channel is Renenene, Renenene. I don't know if that's enough Ennies. He's a big Shirahoshi player. I don't know how it is in OP15. Black Teach, I also have not tried at all. I've played against one, and it was annoying. I need to think about how the meta is right now. You probably beat Blue Yellow Nami. Again, this is completely speculation, so I may be completely wrong. So if someone can educate me, let me know. You probably beat Blue Yellow Nami. NL's still probably going to be tough. I think that no, NL is probably really tough actually, if I think about it, because like a lot of the ways that you fought against Black Teach in the past was to like use your 1 cost as attackers, even at the cost of 3 dong. But it doesn't cost NL anything to attack with those small characters. So actually, that matchup seems difficult. So you probably struggle versus NL. Luffy. The scary thing about Luffy is the 5 cost Luffy that doesn't have an on play effect and is just 5 cost 7,000 power rush, which is really strong. That might be a little bit difficult, though you can't use the 7 cost Robin. Hancock, once again, not really on play effect focused. Just lots of triggers. Does have a couple of on play effects, but yeah, no, I'm not sure if I agree with Teach within this meta, unfortunately. But at the very least, you have Black Yellow Teach coming out next set, which will be something to look forward to if you are interested in that deck. Elbaf Loki leader, I hope. Putting on doesn't emo just struggle into. Roshinante is basically gone from the meta because NL exists. But NL, yes, is a struggle. NL, it's playable. You starve the matchup, but it's still a struggle. But the thing is, like, you'd play Ema if you can beat like basically everything else. And because NL right now is being gate kept a little bit by Nami, Ema I think right now is pretty solid. GP Luffy, sorry, I see 2 messages in a row about GP Luffy, but I don't know how GP Luffy does in this meta. I was never like a huge GP Luffy player. Just because that was like a period in the One Piece card game where I wasn't playing as much when GP Luffy was a lot more popular. So I don't know how he does in this meta now. Red Black Colby, another deck that seems like it could be pretty good. Red Green Luffy, also pretty good, I think. Actually, let me pull this up. Oh, I just stumbled over everything. So, bam, Fidelio TCG. I have a lot of notifications. What's going on here? Oh, you know what? Because I'm using Opera GX, uh, the best browser, I can actually split screen this. What? That's crazy. So I can multitask. I can look at these results while I'm looking at my notifications. But I've a bit too many notifications to actually look through everything. So I'll check that out later. But the reason why I pulled up Fidelio TCG is because he posted it, right? Oh yeah. Where is it? Okay. He played Red Green Luffy. He went 4-0. His team went 1-3, which is unfortunate. Ends up happening sometimes. Happens to the best of us. Then, oh my god, hold on. I keep opening up the wrong browser. Okay. One thing to note is that like even if you're winning, if your team's losing, the level of your opponents isn't going up, so it's easier to keep winning if you're winning. Doesn't necessarily mean that your team's going to win. So like though he did go 4-0, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going against like the 4 best players in Japan. So keep this in mind. But my stream is pulled up, right? Yeah, okay. But this is his list. Let me move my camera off to the side a little bit. Here. Which is pretty standard. I guess you have Laboon, which I'm not sure 100% if you need, but it's pretty solid in the Lucy matchup. And I guess Lucy's been a lot more popular recently. That's something to consider. Otherwise, very, very standard. And Electrical Luna in this meta, as we mentioned when we were talking about Carrot, is really, really good right now. Just being able to lock like basically everything that can come out in the game, honestly. But the main reason why like you haven't seen as many green decks, like things like Bonnie, like things like Mihawk and whatnot, is just because there are like other small things they end up losing to within this meta. So like though Electrical Luna is very good and locking effects are very good, just green as a whole doesn't do as well into the rest of the meta, just due to the fact that like what is it, like Hancock, Purple NL, Blue Yellow Nami, these are all different like obstacles that you need to try to find different ways to get over. But yeah, I mean, still though, Red Green Luffy, pretty solid in this meta. Just being able to make your leader 7k alongside your leader effect is really good. Hi, Goya. Hey. My brother is overseas right now for university, but he was calling my dad, so he said hi on the phone. But yeah, I think the deck's pretty solid. What card will I miss the most after rotation? My favorite card for a very long time was Paradise Waterfall. But I don't know if I would actually say that I missed that card. I think, did I? I might not have saved it. Shoot. I think I made a list of all of the cards that I want to talk about once I have that rotation doc. Trying to see if I actually have a favorite, but oh no, it looks like I didn't save it. Whoops. I'll need to get back to you on that. I'm sorry. I'll need to check out the card list at some point to actually get back to you on what my what card I wish stayed. There's a lot of very strong cards that are going to be leaving. It may be Tenkasto Flamingo. I think Tenkasto Flamingo was cool. Just like playing it is like every time for people who don't know, I used to be a big green player, which is unheard of nowadays. But like back in the day, I loved green all the way up until like OP07. I was only playing green basically. And I loved playing out. Oh, sorry. There's just a text that says Forecast Zoro on the deck, on the screen. Sorry, but I love just like slamming down the 10 cost Doflamingo and like putting out my hand like Doflamingo does, and we like lock those three, which is like is just like a stupid thing that I would always do. Where like I'd be like, Judon, Doflamingo, この3枚, and then just like like lock those three characters sort of thing with like weird Doflamingo hand motions, you know. That was a lot of fun. The card isn't as crazy as it once was, but I'll miss that card. It was a card that I used to use a lot. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good questions in chat, but like they would take a while to actually end up getting through. I do kind of want to talk about, or I want to look at the championship games that happened yesterday. But summary, I imagine you're talking about Oscar. They're talking about Blue Rebecca. Blue Rebecca's solid. Into honestly a lot of the meta, you get completely bodied by Nami. Just like flat out, almost nothing you can do sort of level. Vegapunk as well, extremely good at healing life, but because you start at 2, like one holy hit can be devastating, for example. So just not having that high life start is a little bit difficult, despite the fact that you can play out the 5 cost Porcelino for only 1 dong. So he hasn't been able to do as well in the game as of recent. But like he's still decent. I think he does okay into NL overall. But the fact that like your characters are all 6k power and Nami's leader is at 7k power makes it a little bit difficult to actually get to that finish line. How did I perform on Gecko? I went I hit all of the bad matchups you can possibly imagine in the main event, so I ended up going 1-3 alongside my team, who also went 1-3. And then in side events, I went X1 because I hit the matchups that you'd expect to hit. But so I went X1 in the side events. I got a fancy little prize pack. Wait, but what if I'm sitting on it? Okay, thank God. I still can't find where that prize pack went. Yeah, I don't know where that prize pack went. Hopefully it's not lost. Oh wait, what if it's in my SleeveChief Elite Series deck box? Oh my God, it is! Holy shit! Wait, here it is. And you can get this deck box as well in my link in the description with the code Kai5 for 5% off. But yeah. Okay. We have our pack actually. Sorry, here's my camera. Pointed it to the wrong camera. We have our pack. So hold on, let me just open this, I guess. Okay. So these packs. Sorry, let me oh no, it's in Japanese, so you guys wouldn't. Anyways, there's 9 different types of cards, and they're all alt arts of cards that exist, and a lot of them are exclusive to this pack. Some of them are like, sometimes they're arts that existed in the West but don't exist in the East, that they like find a way to recirculate into the East. And also, there's a 10 cost Luffy, which they had for One Piece Day, which is very expensive, that they also put in this pack as like a reprint. So if you get that One Piece Day Luffy, that's like the best thing you can get. And other than that, the 5 cost Nami is nice. I want the 5 cost Nami. And the 1 cost Pudding Searcher 1 cost Pudding Searcher, the 3 cost Vivi, 5 cost Nami, and of course the 10 cost Luffy are like the cards that I'm personally looking for. Huh. Okay, there's Dragon. There's 3 cards. So, first card is Dragon. I really like the base art for this dragon, though, unfortunately. Yeah, oh, let me get the nice... Oh, yeah, no, you could just get blinded by the light if you wanted to. But yeah, there's a little bit of shine on that. Yeah, I think like maybe for this pack, most of them are going to be exclusive to this pack. So maybe at some point you'll get them in the West. So I'm struggling to get the second card. Hey, okay, there's Nami. There's our 5 cost Egghead Nami. This is actually, honestly, this is the card that I wanted the most. It's just that the Luffy costs more. There is still a chance that the Luffy, there's one more card, but I really, really like this card. So I'm already happy with this pack. I have no idea how much it costs, but this is what I'm looking for as a egghead lover. Third card. Huh. Oh, fuck. I took the entire thing. Haku. Haku. I mean, the art's really good. Is he Dressrosa? He's Dressrosa, but your leader needs to be Revolutionary Army. So card's a bit meh. But there's Haku. Really nice art. But here's our Nami. That's the main thing I'm happy about. Okay. Yeah, no, that was the first pack that I opened on stream today. I didn't open up any other packs today. Nothing happened. The beginning of the stream never existed. Green Zora is playable, but like Purple Anil is difficult, and I don't know how difficult the Blue Yellow Nami matchup is. I just don't know how that matchup like really interacts with each other. But from what I've heard, Purple Anil is difficult for that deck, so that's kind of part of the reason why that deck hasn't really been around recently. I think that we're in the process of the meta changing right now, where we had Hancock and Enel be the 2 dominant forces for the first couple of weeks, and now we're transitioning more to Blue Yellow Nami as well as what's the other one? What's the other one? I'm like Lucy. Are coming back into the meta with force. Still though, because I have a flagship that starts at 12:30 and I haven't even sleeved my deck yet, I don't have that much time left. I'll probably be here for like maybe until like 12, which is about like an hour and 45 minutes. So that means that I need to talk a little bit more about the championship that was yesterday. Yeah, no worries, Jedak, you're good. Actually, although I can't answer all of your questions, I really enjoy all of the chat messages moving. So if you guys want to just spam your favorite word or something for the interactions, also maybe consider hitting the like button on the screen. Maybe also the subscribe button would also help me a lot. I don't actually know how much interactions actually help with the stream, but I don't mind your questions. But Jedak, I think that Brook is interesting. I think that he just falls very, very short. He has not enough aggression to close out the game quickly, and he doesn't have enough defense to close out the game slowly. I could sleeve the deck on stream. Maybe I'll do that. But it's very difficult to like look at chat while I'm sleeving the deck. But yeah. Still, you got an ad? I didn't force that. I don't even know how to make ads play on command on YouTube. Moria's good. Gorgonzola, good word. Awawa. Purple Dofi, also good. A bit more dice roll dependent for my liking, but I think solid deck. But still, though, let's talk a little bit about the stream. I may not be able to interact with chat as much as I'm looking through the games. I also don't know if I'm going to be, because this is like for the first time watching a game that's already finished, going to be maybe a little bit weird. So I don't know how this is all going to work out, or if it's even going to be interesting for you guys. But I might like click through the game a little bit. I don't know exactly how I'm going to end up formatting this, but let's first look at the top 16. This is 16 teams, 48 people, 12 Blue Yellow Nami, 12 Hancock, 6 Lucy, 6 NL, 3 black crocodile, 3 yellow Luffy, the Sky Luffy version, 3 green Mihawk, 2 yellow Karigara, 1 red-green Luffy, and 1 blue-purple Luffy. This is basically what was to be expected. I think that I would have expected a little bit more NL, but, like, just the fact that there's, like, 4 main decks people are playing right now in Nami, Hancock, Lucy, and NL, this is kind of all you can really expect just because of the amount of players that actually are going to be, in this tournament. But still, I think that basically this means that, like, the nice thing, though, is that we don't have anything like last time, where I think, like, last time we had these kinds of 3v3s, we had, like, 15 out of 16 teams had a black emo on it. So, like, if you look at it in that lens, the meta is a lot more diverse. But still, that while it is more diverse, we still have 12, if you count both of these leaders, 24 blue-yellow leaders. So I imagine we'll see a lot of blue-yellow leaders on stream as well. But I actually haven't seen any of these games, so I have no idea. Oh, but that does remind me. Actually, this first round team, someone messaged me about this. This team on the right, Ajasta Daigaku Gachitsu Gakubu, is the team that I fought in round 1. And we would have beat them, but I was 1k short. It all came down to me, and I probably could have played it better, but I thought for sure I would be able to survive. I was playing Purple NL the first round, and then because I lost the first round, I ended up hitting like a bunch of really random decks. But I lost against this Purple NL player because I assumed that I'd be able to survive, but he had 3 L Thors in his hand, which give him 1k counter and also reduce 1 dong, which with your leader effect kind of is technically a plus 2k, because you reduce the dong, then you leader effect and you get that dong back. So he had 3 L Thors, and he was able to hit me for 11,000 power, and I only had 10,000, or like I only could counter up to 11,000. I could only counter a 10,000 power attack, so I lost by 1k counter against this guy in round 1, and they made top cut. And the funny thing is, the team that they're against, team hashtag, I said hashtag in Japanese, I'm sorry, but team hashtag, I can't not say it in Japanese for some reason. This team, I also know the people in this team. So the people that I lost to versus my friends, I'm always going to root for my friends, of course. But still, the NL player that I played against was really, really kind, though. So I have no ill will against them, but it was still very interesting that, like, first stream match was both sides I knew. But still, let's get straight into the game. I didn't see any, like, super interesting matchups, but... Oh, okay, so this is Shohei. He owns Toreka Binks. I don't know if you guys... you probably don't know, but, like, there's a card shop in Tokyo called Binks, and he owns that card shop. Let me pull up my pen. He's a card shop owner, and I imagine that the people... I know that the people next to him are one of the players that he sponsors, as well as another friend that's just really, really good at the game. But yeah, card shop owner in Top Cut with Purple NL. Against, who is this going to be? Not the guy that I fought against. This was Lucy, and actually, my teammate beat this guy in round 1, so we'll see how this ends up going. He ended up beating him with not Purple Luffy, sorry, Hancock. I don't know why I got everything wrong about that. Blue-yellow Hancock into red-blue Lucy, ended up winning that matchup. But we'll see now that they're in Top Cut. Lucy versus NL. Now, this matchup is quite complicated because NL has the ability to spread his board very, very quickly. Lucy doesn't really have that ability. Basically, he plays 2 cards to the board throughout the entire game. The 4-cost Cavendish, as well as the 7-cost Subble. But the 7-cost Subble has a lot of different things that can be done off of it. So once the NL player is playing things like that 6-cost NL, I almost said Hankook, 6-cost NL, what's going to end up happening is that once he rests that NL, immediately Lucy's going to use Fire Fist to give it minus 8,000 power and just completely bully the shit out of it with the 2,000 power characters that he has on his board. So Is it going to end up going that way? We don't know, because a lot of the ways that NL players decide to play against this is to just leave your 6-cost NL active for, like, 1, sometimes even 2 turns to make it difficult for them to actually use this Fire Fist. If they can't get rid of your board, you start to build up these 6-cost NLs onto the board, then it can start to get a lot more difficult for Lucy. So we'll have to see how this matchup ends up going, because we have Lucy going first in this matchup, which is the first hurdle to go over. Maybe I should watch this at 1.5 times speed. We'll, not 1.5, 1.25. If it's too fast, I will go back a little bit. But the streams generally are a little bit long. Still, how's this matchup going to go? I actually don't know who's favored in this matchup. I think it's, like, fairly close now that Lucy players have been getting better at the game. But I think that generally speaking, it's going to be NL favored for the most part. So we have Lucy, who's going to be going first, has a starting hand of a couple of events, has the Sage, which is going to be nice. But really what you're going to be looking for is going to be those cards that you want to play onto the board. So it's going to come down to this draw as well as the search, whether or not he's going to be able to find them. Unfortunately, he does have Viola and not the 1-cost Rebecca. So not the ideal searcher, but a searcher nonetheless. And because of that stage, he will be able to turn a lot of his cards into 2Ks as well. So maybe not going to be that much of a pain. Enel, on the other hand, though, a little bit of a scary start. He has a 1-cost, but he only has 1, meaning that if he doesn't draw another one immediately, then he is going to be forced to only have 1/1-drop on the board. No guarantee that he'll be able to find one on the next turn as well, unless he uses his events to just keep drawing cards to try to find them. And he also doesn't have the 6-cost Searcher NL, which is that first piece that you're really looking for to start snowballing the game as NL. Still, Lucy going to start the game by checking the top 3 cards with that Viola and finds the Cavendish. So that's the first piece of the puzzle. Going to be the first thing that he's going to want to put down as he gets to that 5-zone turn. Whether or not he decides to play it off of that 4-cost event, we'll have to see, because sometimes you want to hold on to that 4-cost event to play off of the 7-cost Lucy as well. 7-cost Sebel. And now, ooh, okay, he found another 1-cost, so that is going to give him 1 more draw. So he'll probably just end up dropping that as well. But yeah, these early turns for Enel, you just want to, he's returning his Dung in a very weird way. Yeah, Judge telling him not to do that. But just line up these 1-cost 2000s, which from the next turn are going to start hitting for 6,000 power with your leader effect. But still, his hand, lots of events, but not necessarily the cards that he's really looking for. Lucy, on the other hand, does find that 1-cost. Oof. So that the 5-cost event in his hand, the Berry Berry Pistol, is really good in matchups that are not NL, because the 6-cost NL can't actually be removed. So just decides to pick up the Midoriyo Ace, which if you have 4 or more events in your trash, gives -3 cost and has the main and counter effect to give a character -3000 power. So just picking that up, going to be maybe relevant once the NL 6-cost NLs are going to be rested, but we'll have to end up seeing how this matchup goes, because I think a lot of it's going to come down to, first of all, if NL can get over that first very important hurdle of finding that searcher NL, and also whether or not he decides to rest those characters once they come out. Deciding that he doesn't even want to find or want to play out the 1-cost if he finds it off of that Satori search is going to start with the 6K at leader first, and Ame, the Lucy player, immediately responding with the stage to get rid of that 4-cost event. Does have another one in his hand, so not struggling with that at all. He will probably end up using it next turn to play out that Cavendish, just to be able to try to cycle and try to find that 7-cost Lucy. So still, and now using his leader effect for Dong onto that Shida, and does have the option now to play out another 1-cost if he has it, but not having it in his hand, attaches 1 more Dong on Shida, hits 7,000 opponent's leader, and now Lucy down to 3 life, finds another searcher, so can reasonably look for that 7-cost Sebel. Been digging through his deck, doesn't quite have it yet, but first foremost, starting with the 2,000 power Viola swing into Shida. I think, yeah, I mean, these smaller attacks are just going to be basically free. If NL gets into a situation where he doesn't find his 1-drops early on, then like you can pretty reasonably take out the opponent's 1-drops and make them struggle a lot for the number of hits that they have. Because NL right now has 3 1-costs on the board, this isn't going to be relevant right now, but if he doesn't manage to find more 1-drops to play after he plays a 6-cost NL, then you can slowly get kind of like choked out of this game. Not wanting to let that happen, just identifying that he doesn't have as many one costs, decides to actually counter the shoulda as well, or counter out to protect the shoulda off of that Viola effect. And then now Lucy just going to be using the event to draw 2, trash 1, then with leader effect draw 1 to play out that Cavendish. Lots of cards being drawn. Going to search with Viola as well. Don't know if he has that 7 cost Sable yet. I'd be really sad if he doesn't, considering the number of time that he's searched so far. Don't see it. Oh my god, no, he doesn't have it, does he? That's really rough. It's really unfortunate. If he doesn't have that 7 cost sub on this next turn, though he doesn't have great targets, like just being able to play that 3 cost event to draw 2 cards with his leader effect 3 cards would be nice, but not having it at all, he only has counter in his hand basically, so he's going to be in a really tough spot. He probably may have to take a life that he doesn't want to take. Well, NL on the other hand does have that NL, doesn't have the searcher, but thankfully does have a second NL, so will be able to at least have 2 NLs coming onto the board. That's one of the scary things about not having that searcher NL is that you have no guarantee that you actually be able to draw into the other NLs, so thankfully he has those. But one thing actually you have to consider as the 6 cost NL, the blocker one, is if you actually want to use your Activate Main effect. The Activate Main effect, you have to trash 1 card to give it blocker. Seems like he does end up using it. Yeah, seems like he has ended up. Did he? Oh no, he just used the main effect of the Mamaragang. So it decides to rest the Cavendish. And now considering what he wants to do now, he does have a lot of Gemaburu, which I don't know what it's called in English. Maybe it's like Lightning Dragon or something. Does have a lot of Gemaburu in his hand. So considering maybe if he wants to lock that Cavendish, he can realistically permanently lock this Cavendish for like the rest of the game. And I mean, Ame right now, looking at his hand, he doesn't have the 7 cost Lucy, 7 cost Subtle. So in a bit of a scary spot, not where he wants to be. Especially if that Cavendish won't be able to hit. But NL first going to hit into it, see if he can get counter the opponent's hand. And also, this is really nice because although it's like 5k into 5k, it's the same as hitting into leader. Because your leader effect only turns your events in your hand into counter for your leader. I think I intonated that really weirdly, but your leader effect turns the events in your hand into counter for your leader. So therefore, hitting into the opponent's characters can be really annoying if they don't have much of 2Ks. Thankfully for Lucy, though, you can see he also has the stage, which can actually protect your characters. Unlike your leader, will be able to protect his Cavendish on this turn, but does have the Gemabura to make sure that he doesn't get that 2-draw-1 trash. Meaning that if Ahmed doesn't top deck the 7-cost Lucy on this next turn, you can see he kind of shook his head like, ah, shit. I'm on stream and I don't draw my 1 card when I'm a 1-card deck. But unfortunately, doesn't seem like he's going to be able to find it unless he can find it off of this 1 draw. But yeah, I think Shohei right now thinking about if he wants to use the NL effect, if he hasn't already. Don't know if he ended up using it because I was looking off to the side, I'm sorry. But 7 cost, but not the right 7 cost in his hand. Finds the Fire Fist, which on this turn, really not helpful. But once that 6 cost NL is rested, may end up being good, but it's going to be very difficult to actually get the opponent to rest his NL in a meaningful way because you only have 1 attack on the board. So decides to just opt for the I forget what it's called in English. I also forget what it's called in Japanese as well. Sees that Sabo finally, which will come down on that next turn, but this is a huge tempo loss, which may end up becoming very influential for the rest of this game. Not being able to get that first 7-cost Sabo onto the board is going to be quite painful. Does also have to hit into the opponent's Olmo as well. A lot of times you can ignore the opponent's 1-cost characters, but that Olmo giving minus 1000 power, like we saw with the Mamaragang and Jamabura, made it so that he wasn't able to hit with this Cavendish, and so therefore this turn, not able to play down the 7-cost Sebo is going to just play down the second Cavendish. And we'll have to see now if NL wants to keep this Cavendish locked on this turn. Does have a third NL as well, but it is going to be the blocker NL. So though not ideal, really the searcher NL is what's trying to get you into this chain of blocker NLs. But the fact that he already has this chain of blocker NLs means that the necessity of the secret rare Searcher NL has sort of diminished, and now that he's just been able to raw draw the NLs that he has in his hand, he's feeling a lot more comfortable. Does find a fourth one as well, so I think really he doesn't need the Searcher NL at all anymore, because that Searcher NL doesn't actually go up in hand or card neutral because you have to trash one card after that. So he has all of his pieces now, he's just able to raw draw them. So what looked like a scary start, now feeling really comfortable for NL and Lucy, though he does have his characters on board. Going to be difficult to see if he actually can stabilize. We'll also have to see, this is going to be the turn where NL has to decide if he wants to rest that 6 cost NL. If he wants to hit for 10,000 power, then sure, it's going to for sure be taken by Lucy. He's going to go down to minimum 2 life. But if, for example, he decides to just leave it active, then you look at Lucy's hand. You have the 7 cost Subtle, but there's no good target to play off of that. You play the 7 cost Fire Fist, but because the opponent's character would be active, you can't actually take it out, meaning that it's just going to be minus 8,000 power plus the draw from your lead effect. However, there is the argument that you still do that anyways, just because the minus 8,000 stays on the opponent's turn, which means that it's not completely useless, but it is absolutely suboptimal. So thinking about what he wants to do with the rest of his Dong here, just whittling down his resources, keep hitting 2k, or asking for 2k as he hits 6k into the opponent's Cavendish while keeping it locked. And does leave that 6 cost NL active. And seems like the thing that he drew, is that a stage? Not going to be a great target for that 7 cost Lucy. So he's going to need to try to find something off this Cavendish, but I mean, that's not the card you're looking for. Oh, this is looking kind of rough for Lucy, unfortunately. He did win the dice roll, but he didn't find the cards that he really needed, and NL is playing exactly how he's supposed to in this matchup, leaving his characters active, making it as awkward as possible for Lucy to actually play out that Fire Fist. Plays out the Viola as well, and I mean, those are events that you're kind of looking for. Like, that was the next card. If he had that card, which is 7 cost, draw 2 cards, then if your leader is Lucy, give your leader double attack as well as plus 2,000 power, then he would have had something much better to play off of that. Oh, wait. Sorry, I'm dumb. He did have it. I forgot that he didn't play the Subble yet. But yeah, so exactly the card that he was looking for. Managed to find it with that Cavendish. And now, finally, a little bit of saving grace in this game is going to be able to get that double attack and that draw. If you didn't find that card, it would have been really, really bad. But this is exactly why you need to have this card in the deck, is because on those types of turns, when the opponent's board is completely active, if you don't have something like that that can start to push pressure onto the opponent, then you kind of just sit there and you kind of wasted a turn. I don't know why, for some reason, I thought that he already played out the 7 cost Subble, but thankfully finds the card that he needs in the end, barely, and puts a little bit of pressure on Enel, now down to 1 life, but still with a very, very large hand. It's, sorry, I looked over at chat for a second. Maladen, I hope that's how you pronounce your name. It's pretty rare. You see Subble most of the time. Like, honestly, this deck is so consistent. It also runs the 1 cost search event as well that searches a Dressrosa type character, which can find Cavendish as well as Subble. Some decks even run the 1 cost Bello Betty as well to help you find that 7 cost Subble. It's very hard to miss the 7 cost Subble on that 7th turn with the amount of searches in this deck. So really unfortunate that he was in that situation. Still only sees 1 anyway. So even if he had it on curve, he probably wouldn't be able to have played a second one in a row, which is surprising considering the number of times that he has searched throughout this game. So a little bit unlucky. And now NL going to be playing out that third super rare blocker NL and activating the effect, making one of them a blocker, the one that he just played. So now that the opponent has a 7 cost 9,000 on the board, if he doesn't hit for more than 10,000, then he could be in range of a free block from that NL. Now, 5k at leader uses leader effect to turn the 5k into, or turn the event into a 1k counter. And still, NL, because he had all these characters come on to the board before Lucy could actually get his 7 cost Lucy, 7 cost Subble, I don't know why they renamed them, onto the board, makes it a little bit more difficult, where although Lucy was able to find some of the cards that he needed, it was just a little bit too slow. It gave Enel a little bit more time, and now his board, I mean, 6 cost 10,000 power characters, lining his board now, as he's going to be hitting with his leader effect for minimum 6k with the Satori, while also reordering top of his deck to increase the consistency of his deck. Just going to start to slowly let him snowball the game. And now this is interesting. Because a lot of times you see this NL, you're like, "Oh my god, finally, my secret NL." But yeah, decides to send to the bottom. He doesn't need these NLs anymore because really what you want to use the NL for is to find those blocker NLs. And because he already has those blocker NLs, decides he doesn't need them, doesn't need the 2K counter, gonna draw a better card later on, attaches that last Dong, swings for 11,000 into Cavendish to make sure the opponent doesn't have ways to increase the number of resources in his hand. If he wants to defend this, he will need to block and give a raw 2K 1K. Gives a 2K 2K, doesn't have or doesn't want to give that 1K counter in his hand. And now down to 4 cards in his hand with that Jamabuda as well. Brutal. That's so brutal for Lucy. Loses so many cards in his hand and doesn't get to attack with Cavendish. Once NL gets a hold of this game, it becomes really hard for Lucy to get back into it, and he still doesn't have the second 7-cost Sable in his hand yet, but he does. But he has so many good targets for it, so gonna be looking for it. 2, 3. He doesn't see it. No. No, I mean, it's good because my friend is on L, so my friend's winning. But also it's sad. It's a bit tragic. Uh that's unfortunate. Doesn't have a means to search or draw with the Sable as well. So he has to play the Viola out of hand, losing even more counter out of his hand to try to search. And I mean, once again, he doesn't see the 7-cost Sable. There's we should like we could honestly count the number of cards that he's looked through at this point. It's incredible that he hasn't been able to find like his second 7-cost Sable at this point. Like at this point, you honestly should have probably have seen like 2 or 3 at this point. You're deciding like if you even need that third one. But he desperately needed those cards and just wasn't able to find them. Yeah, maybe he just runs one Sabo in his deck. You're thinking like, no, 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 I got this. But unfortunately, most decks do run 4 of that 7-cost Sabo because that is going to be core to the deck. Because he doesn't have that 7-cost Sabo, is forced to use Fire Fist off out of his hand directly, though he does get the draw. He doesn't get the 7-cost 9,000 power body, which would have basically come out for free alongside the Lucy should he have had it. So unfortunately, while he does get that big swing in the opponent's leader, because he has reduced the blocker by 8,000 power, it's not going to mean all too much, considering the amount of hand that NL has, as well as the board that he has as well. Yeah, I think that if he had a second/third 7-cost Sawa at this point, then you could have made the argument to go for board to try to take out the opponent's board and slowly win back the game that way. But because he doesn't have these 7-cost Sawas, he doesn't really have a means of surviving, nor does he really have a way of really bullying the opponent's smaller characters because his characters that can attack are so low in power. So unfortunately, he does have to just elect for this more aggressive plan where he reduces the blocker and I'll just deny it the ability to give it a free block, go into leader, and hope that somehow, someway he can survive the next turn and still also find a lethal on the turn after that. So it's looking like a bit of a rough angle, honestly. Yeah, I mean, and Purple NL, he has so many cards in his hand, he can afford to give this 2K 2K to defend the 8K attack. And I think Lucy's also in an awkward situation where he does want to hit with this 7-cost Sable, especially while the opponent's character is at 2,000 power. But by hitting into the opponent's leader, you open yourself up to a lot of scary hits in the next turn. Though you may not die, though you may end up just dying. So he needs to really think about this. He only has 3 life. He has, I believe, 4 cards in his hand. Decides to go for the swing. He does have that 1-cost Rebecca on his board. So potentially going to want to use it. Ooh, and doesn't want to go down to 0. So does actually give the 6-cost NL away. So nice move from Ame. Decides to go for that swing. Ends up taking out one of the NLs, which is going to be very huge for this game. And now we'll have to see. Because the game is not going to end on this turn anymore. I don't think that Shohei was really looking to end the game regardless, but I think that the purple NL player trying desperately to play out of range of that 3-cost Sanji to just make sure to play to all of the outs, make sure that the opponent doesn't have a way back into the game, plays that 4th secret, I even thought about it, super rare blocker NL, Probably going to make it a blocker as well, and potentially just start snowballing. Yeah. Uses the effect, gives it blocker, reduces one lung, which will very quickly come back with his leader effect active, and is now thinking about how he wants to use the rest of his characters. He could even, because his other NLs have the activate main effect, make the other NLs blockers as well, but you do need to put pressure on the opponent's leader to actually make sure that you can close out the game. Because the opponent, although they don't have the 7-cost Sebel, does have the Fire Fist in hand, you can start to repeat the pattern that we had the turn before, where slowly but surely you start to whittle away at the opponent's resources with that Fire Fist, denying them the ability to block. So he may consider leaving more characters as blockers, but I don't think he necessarily needs to. I think he's still in a fairly comfortable position. Looking at his hand, I mean, all the events look the same for this deck. It's hard to say, but I think he has a 1k, 1k, 1k. Is that Divine Departure in his hand? As well as one of the NL 2ks. Yeah, it looks like he used it Thor, which is going to give your character or leader plus 1000 power and reduce KO one of the opponent's characters with 3000 power or less. So gets rid of the opponent's blocker with that Thor. And now a little bit lower encounter in his hand, because that is one of the, I think actually the only event that NL has access to that doesn't actually redraw a card. But making sure that the opponent doesn't have Cavendish on this next turn, because he's finally, I mean, after 3 turns in a row, not going to have that Buddha to be able to lock the opponent's Cavendish. So making sure that he's going to be able to take out this Cavendish, which we know is going to fall very soon. Though Lucy does still have his Sage that can protect the Cavendish at the cost of one of the events in his hand. Doesn't have anything else after that. So just 2 attacks on this Cavendish, he is going to be guaranteed to die. Ooh. But Shohei, maybe not having his eyes on the Cavendish, maybe looking to hit into the Sebel. Seems like that's what he wants to do. I think it's a really good call, though, considering the way that Lucy works. You end up having a lot of events in your hand. So, yeah, can't actually protect that Sebel. Has the correct read and is going to be able to take out both characters, meaning that for sure he doesn't need that second blocker on the board. And now Lucy, no board left. Still alive. But honestly, no hope within this game left. NL with still 1 life to his name, 5 cards in hand, Divine Departure as well, means that he's very stacked for counter, and Lucy looking at the options in his hand, but there are very, very few options left. There's the 7-cost Sebel, a bit of a hello on the turn that he's going to end up dying. I don't know actually if the game is actually going to end at this point, but we do know how this game is going to end up. 7-cost Sebel going to play out the 7-cost Fire Fist to give his leader plus 3000 power and reduce one of the opponent's characters by minus 8000 power for the entirety of the next turn. So I'm going to do the same thing as before, I believe. He's thinking about it. The thing is, if you don't reduce this blocker and you hit into one of the opponent's other characters, then he's just going to take the free block with his 10,000 power NL. So you have to reduce this blocker NL that's active right now. And yeah, just going to keep having to hit face. Hope that he survives next turn, and hopefully tries to break through with the 3-cost Sanji if he runs it. But as we can see from his hand right now, he doesn't have it. So we'll have to see what could end up being his out in the situation. Oh yeah, it seems like the stream's also talking about it. Yeah, just a bit of a slow start for Lucy. He wasn't able to recover. Just really unfortunate all around. This is the funny duality of the game where NL didn't search at all, just drew a lot of cards and found every piece that he needed, whereas Lucy drew every single searcher basically that he had access to and still couldn't find those Sebels. Now all of them coming together in the end, all stacked together towards the bottom of his deck, a last parade, just to become counterless cards in his hand. It's a bit sad. I think, to be fair, this isn't live, so we can start to like skip around a little bit because I think that we know exactly how this game's going to go. But like they might try to play for another game or another turn if they feel like it's not safe to go for lethal yet. But yeah, just massive power reduction out of that Divine Departure. Then rest with Mamaragang is going to be able to take out that Sabo as well, just making sure that his board is absolutely 0. Yeah. He's going to, ooh, and then plays out the Shura as well. Get the hidden, the little fancy techniques. Chip away with the 6 cost NL. And then they go to overtime. Da, da, da. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm kind of skipping through this, but this is like this is like a speedrun time save of 10,000 or not 10,000, like 5 to 10 minutes, because we already know the result of this game. Unfortunately, I think that this is probably going to be the final turn, regardless. Lucy has to go for a lethal on this turn, so he needs to try to find this, make this Viola an attacker, basically. Let's see how this plays out, because he needs to find lethal on this turn. But the only characters that he has, because of that Divine Departure into Mamaragan play, is going to be that 2,000 power of Viola. Is going to be hitting for 9,000 power. 9,000 into the opponent's leader. And you do have to probably counter this as the NL player, because you don't know how many events the Lucy may have in his hand. Like, for example, if he has all events in his hand, 7 cards in his hand, all being events, that isn't going to be 8,000 at the opponent's leader. That's going to be 15,000. So it decides to counter it out and scoops. No game for Lucy. Unfortunate start, middle, and end, meaning that Purple NL, despite being passed second in this matchup, is going to be able to win, meaning that my GOAT, Shohei, is in the top 8. Unfortunately, the team that I hit in round 1 ended up falling. But yeah, that's a bit unfortunate, but I think that, I mean, NL played that really well, clearly knew how he was supposed to play out that matchup, and played it out, like, using the Divine Departure alongside Mamaragan to make sure that you could take out the opponent's character, to give the opponent 0 outs, even though it seems like Shohei probably didn't run that 3-cost Sanji, making sure that he played around it anyways, just in case, was a really nice adaptation, and very solid. Okay, now, this is the semifinals. I'm still fine for time. Semifinals, we have Blue Purple Luffy. Oh man, so that's like a free win. Blue Purple Luffy versus Nami. Probably just had like really good matchups across the day. Hancock, Nami, and we have Crocodile. These are all really cool decks. This matchup probably goes to Blue Purple Luffy. This matchup is more Crocodile favored, and I have no idea how Nami versus Luffy goes. I think that that's the matchup that we got. Yep. Yeah, I think that was 3 Sables back to back to back at the end. That's unfortunate, but yeah, still the way that that matchup works is more interesting than the stream game let on. It was just kind of unfortunate that that's what ended up happening on stream. I am curious about this game. It isn't a new leader, but these are 2 decks that are a bit more prominent in OP15 with the new buffs. Okay, so we have... Sorry, let me see their starting hands. My apologies. I have a feeling this match is going to be extremely long. Oh, no, actually, I have played this matchup. This is like... Depending on Nami's list, actually. If Nami runs like any bouncing characters, then this is like super Nami favored. But like recently, because Thriller hasn't been running bouncing characters like Nojiko or like Jose, this matchup's been a little bit, I mean, I would imagine at least that this matchup's a little bit more even to maybe even slightly Luffy favored, just because of the amount of counter that he has. Both these decks are super defensive decks, so this might be a 1.5x angle, because this is going to be a very long game. If it ends up being too fast, I will slow it down a little bit, but we are speedrunning these games. Bliel Nami is going to be taking first in this matchup. And maybe not... Oh, he does have Gravity Blade, though. So not a card that you actually see all too much in Blue Nami, but is definitely going to be something that you're going to have to look out for in this matchup. Luffy does have a means of protecting against it in that 3-cost Robin that he may be running, just because of the fact that he's playing Red-Green Luffy much easier to play as well. But that Gravity Blade at some point in this game, I think, is going to be very devastating. So although while his hand is somewhat mediocre, and he has 7-cost Robin, he has Gravity Blade, I think this is like a pretty solid hand, even if you miss out on the 5-drop, just because of the way that these decks are going to interact with each other. Luffy, on the other hand, has a lot of searchers. He does have that 5-cost Saji, which is going to be one of the stronger cards for this deck. Nojiko doesn't rotate. No, Nojiko actually stays. Oh no, they got rid of the same color rule because like the decks are more diverse now. So you can have two decks that are the same color. But yeah, maybe it should have been reinstated for this. Okay, now maybe 1.5 is a little bit fast. Okay. Oh, but 1 point. Hold on, wait. Can I like use the slider here to go like? Oh, dude, 1.35. Okay. So uses the search and picks up pudding. I think this could actually be pretty solid in this matchup, just because Luffy with his leader effect is going to be able to have a lot of free counter in his hand, which means he could potentially build up a lot of big hand size. So could be something to consider later on. So Tony having that decision open to him. Luffy also had to think about if you wanted to use his leader effect or if you wanted to search. But because he doesn't have that 4-cost Usopp, I think he really wanted to pick up search. Or is that Usopp in his hand? It's hard to see what the one all the way off to the left is, but decides to pick up the Nami instead. So doesn't care all too much about having a solid 4-drop turn, but just wants to have as many Namis in his hand as possible, it seems, because he already has one now, having two. Going for the second search with that Bonnie. Yeah. And, ooh, is that the 3-cost Robin? Oh, it is. So he does run it, but he has to think about if he wants to actually pick it up. Seeing the 7-cost Zoro as well, another really, really good card in this matchup. Basically, 7-cost 9,000 on play, make your leader blue, yellow, Nami. Probably going to be the card that he ends up picking up. Yeah, he does. So he will be sending cards to the bottom of his deck, namely that 3-cost Robin, which is going to make him a lot more devastated by that 7-cost Gravity Blade later on in the game. So yeah, this is what Nami likes to do. On the second turn, you always want to hit for at least 2,000 power over the opponent's leader, so you could try to get that extra draw off of your lead effect. So if you only have one search in Nami, the search event, then you probably want to use it on the second turn and hit for 7k just to get that extra draw before you attack. But because he had two searches, he used one on turn 1 and used one on turn 2 to hit for 7k on this turn, and just keep filtering through his deck. Just a 1-drop, basically search anything in your deck if it costs 2 to 8 cost, meaning that he can't search that 10-cost negate, he can't search other searchers, but will pick up the 4-cost Zoro, a card that you don't see as much in Blue Yellow Nami, just due to the fact that it's more focused on the Borsalino, Gecko Moria 7-cost Robin engine, but it seems like he's not playing towards the Thriller Bark engine. There is a lot of debate on whether or not the Thriller Bark engine is the best for this deck, and my conclusion is that I think that the Thriller Bark version is better. It makes your good matchups better, but I think that the standard version is better in the mirror, so I prefer the standard version, which I believe is what we're seeing right now. I think that the Thriller Bark version devastates Enel. That's that 4-cost Perona, as well as the ability to heal permanently, keep your leader at 7k power, also having access to 5-cost Porcelino is really, really nice in that matchup. The Hancock matchup, as well as the Enel matchup. But even if you play standard Blue Yellow Nami, those matchups aren't necessarily losing, while also making the mirror a little bit better. So I personally prefer the standard version of Blue Yellow Nami, but you know, still the Thriller Bark version is the more popular version. Luffy going to go for the 6k at leader, leaving up Tudong for his leader effect, and because Blue Yellow Nami leader effect, going to be able to turn any card that he wants to into 2k, but uses his 2k out of hand anyways, electing to hold onto all those cards in his hand. Ooh, and it does. He is running the Nojiko. This is also one of the nice things about the standard version is that you have more space in your deck. Because you're not forced to run a bunch of things like, for example, the 2k counter Kumashi, the 4-cost Perona, the 4-cost Hogback, you actually have more space in your deck to put in some more interesting tech cards like we're seeing with this 4-cost Zoro or like the 2-cost Nojiko. So that Nojiko, another card that's going to be really annoying into Luffy to be able to bounce back that 5-cost Sanji. But yeah. Doesn't have the 5-cost Nami, which would have been ideal on this turn. But still going to heal 1 life anyways with that Zoro. Not in a bad spot. Nami now with 5 life. Which you love to see. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge red green Luffy player, but I do enjoy setting up Usopp even if I can't use my leader effect. Um, even though like I may have to like counter a little bit more out of hand, especially since we know that pudding's in this game right now. We have to consider the amount of hand size that we're really holding on to. So I don't know if you really need to leave that much dong up for your leader effect currently. Still, Luffy going to play out the 6 cost Sigure Luffy, which restands 4 dong. Though he can't play a 5 cost now, he wasn't able to regardless because he would only have 4 dong. Attaches 1 to his leader, now deciding how much he really wants to use for his leader effect, how much he wants to actually swing for. Swing for 6 doesn't matter all too much because it's just 1 card, any card out of Nami's hand. So he decides to swing for 7, leaving up only 2 dong. And Nami takes it, picking up the Zeus. Another pretty good card within this meta, just due to the fact that things like, for example, Olma from the 3 cost, not the 3 cost, the 3 cost Olma from Purple NL, or things like the 5 cost Luffy, are pretty solid targets for that Zeus as well as Nojiko, which is just a whole nother reason why Blue Nami's been so good in this meta. Yeah, I really like the standard version of Nami a lot more than the Thriller Bark version currently, but both are pretty viable. Goes for the 5k at leader and is going to use the Robin effect to heal 2 life. So solid, does get the draw off his leader effect as well, but this does mean that Nami doesn't have a dong on his leader now. Not having that dong on leader means that you can't go to 7k power, meaning that potentially there may be an opening, maybe a window for Luffy to get a big double attack through onto the opponent's leader. Now, is this going to be a huge issue when the opponent has 5 life currently? Not really. But just being able to get in these attacks when you can could be quite nice, especially since it's going to be very rare for Nami to not have dong on the opponent on their leader once it comes to the late game, especially when you have things like the 10 cost Newgate, which attach dong to your leader as well. Aside from that, you're always going to have 1 dong active, so you can attach that to your leader, activate your leader effect. This is really probably going to be the only timing within the game that he's not going to have a dong on his leader. So starts with the 7k double attack, and if Nami wants to defend this out of hand, then he's going to have to pitch an actual 2k and a 1k. Or just take the double attack. And neither option seems terrible. Like, he has very pitchable parts in his hand, but he needs to think about how much he values this pudding or the Nojiko. Decides to get rid of it though. 2k, 1k to protect against the double attack. So now that Nojiko is no longer a factor, but does show it to the red-green Luffy player, which means he has to be a little bit more careful. Still playing the Sanji anyways, card that he was planning to play. And Tony looks a little bit like he was surprised, not expecting to see it. Now 2 Sanjis come onto the board on this 8 dong turn, very, very powerful. Is not only going to be a 5 cost 7,000 power character that restands 2 dong when he's played, but at the end of the turn is going to give him back 2 dong as well, meaning that for red-green Luffy, that's 2k extra counter from each Sanji, meaning that right now, though his hand size very big, he also has 3 2Ks effectively as well from his dong cards from his leader effect. Yeah. And now Nami, pretty straightforward deck all around. You generally just want to play on curve. There aren't too many great options here. The only options that you really have realistically are really the only options that you have are, do you want to Gravity Blade right now? Do you want to Robin right now? Or do you just want to Pudding? But you don't need to Pudding right now, especially since the opponent's hand size has gotten significantly lower in size. So starts with 7k the opponent's leader, and Luffy going to use his leader effect once for a 2k, and cutting a generic 1k out of hand as well, the Vivi. So leaving 2 dong open for when the opponent attacks with that Zoro or the Robin to make it a little bit more awkward, a little bit more easy to use his leader effect. So yeah, this 8k going to be used, blocked completely off of the leader effect. And now Nami deciding between the Gravity Blade or the Robin. I think that the Gravity Blade is just going to be really devastating right now. There it is. 7 cost Gravity Blade gets rid of 2 of the opponent's characters, reducing what was once a massive 7,000 power board that would have been really nice into Nami, down to just 1 7 cost Sanji. Very brutal now, and now Luffy's going to have to rebuild his board. Does have a couple of solid cards in his hand, does have that 7-cost Zoro, which was searched before, does also have the secret rare Luffy, which can come out. But, I mean, not having those attacks on the board is really, really brutal. Maybe he should have potentially thought of this as an option and picked up that 3-cost Robin when he had the chance to off that search, but I mean, it's not something that is commonly run in Blue Yell 90, so it's hard to actually play around. A lot of Blue Yell 90 players, I mean, you don't know if it's going to be Thriller Bark or the standard version when you first open up your leader. So you need to try to guess based on clues. And if you're running the standard version, you have the space to actually put in these types of cards. And unfortunately, maybe thinking that he was going against the Thriller Bark version or just thinking that Namis in general have been cutting the card does not respect the Gravity Blade and in the end is going to be brutalized by it. Yeah. Yeah, Munchlax, I know you're a big Red Green Luffy fan. Yeah, so you can probably do a better job explaining Red Green Luffy's moves than I can. So maybe check out his channel. I know that he has good YouTube videos as well. But yeah, I mean, devastating Gravity Blade turn now. So Red Green Luffy now is going to have to try to recoup himself, rebuild his board, make more powerful or more characters on the board to actually be able to try to break through the opponent's defenses. Thankfully, Nami's resources are starting to be thinned out a little bit, but still has 4 life to his name. Yeah, yeah, and there's going to be the Zoro. Maybe thinking about the potential of a second Gravity Blade as well, making sure that it's going to be out of range of that being 7 cost. Does also have the Character Rush as well, and is going to use it to go straight into the Robin. This is actually really nice. I think it probably just ends up going down. He does lose 1 life, but because of his lead effect, he's been really, really healthy. So he does actually still have 2 life to his name. At the end of this turn, is going to also get 1 dong back from that Sanji. And although, you think maybe 1 dong is not all too much, because your leader's 7k power, going to be swinging for 8k right now, being 7k while having a free 2k effectively feels like you have a free Radical Beam. Because it's almost, in a way, a plus 4k. So because Nami's board is very low in size, and Luffy going to be at 7,000 power with this huge Zoro on the board, Luffy, despite the Gravity Blade, is in a pretty solid position now. Still, because Nami has so much time, the one resource that Nami has better than most decks in this meta right now is time. She's going to play that 10 cost Newgate with 4 life still to her name. And with that Newgate effect, attaching 2 dong to both leader and Zoro is going to make it so that he can swing for 7 and 8 in the opponent's leader. Is going to have to cut in actual 2k out of hand to be able to defend that. So still, Red Green Luffy not in the worst of spots right now, but we're going to have to see actually how fast he can close out this game because Nami still has a lot of time right now. Yeah, and I think 10 cost Newgate recently has been a card that people have been reteching in. I think especially because there's been a lot more Blue Yell Nami mirrors in general. People have been trying to figure out what cards could be good for that matchup. But 10 cost Newgate, a card that's been coming in a little bit more recently, as well as Gravity Blade, just a card that we don't see all too much, are really catching Luffy off guard right now. Because although he does want to break through with these really big attacks, because the opponent has a permanent 10,000 power, sorry, 10 cost 12,000 power blocker on the board, it's going to be difficult to actually break through and get a lot of damage on the board. So he does need to keep using these turns to keep developing his board, because although he has 5 characters on the board, I mean, 3 of them are searchers, so they don't actually end up doing all too much. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Munchlax, for giving the live secondary commentary as a Red Green Luffy player. Yeah, so Luffy needing to redevelop his board. Also need to think about how much long he's going to leave up for his leader effect. Doesn't have the benefit of being 7k power on this turn either. So plays down the Luffy, can no longer play a 5 cost now out of hand. And thinking about how much he wants to leave up for his leader effect, doesn't actually need to leave up all too much, because you have to consider if the opponent's actually going to end up swinging with that 12,000 power Newgate, but decides to leave up 5 on this turn. just wanting to hold on to that 4-cost Nami in hand to make sure that he can use it when the time is right. Yeah, not having a 4-cost Usopp, though, would have been or having a 4-cost Usopp would have been quite nice in this situation, though, but unfortunately doesn't have it, and is going to be in a situation now where he has an insane number of cards, knowing that Pudding exists. That Pudding or does he have 6 cards? Oh, he actually has less cards than I thought, but still, Pudding, something you have to still consider, and Nami now in a position where they can think, do they want to be a little bit more aggressive, or do they want to keep stalling the game, play slowly with things like that 7-cost Robin? Goes the 7k into the leader. If Luffy decides to use his leader effect, is going to end up using 2 of the cards, which he will end up doing. A lot easier to do this once you have 5 Dong active for your leader effect. And still has 3 Dong left to be able to defend against that Zoro attack should he go for it. So Nami potentially deciding to not even hit with that Zoro or the 10-cost Newgate and just build up board, decides to do so. Yeah. It just heals 1 life, gets the draw off of leader effect. Back to 3 life, board is slightly bigger, but Luffy's also a little bit bigger than it was last turn. Oh, is the official stream talking about the Quasar Borsellino combo? Yeah, that's rough. Pablo, Borsellino in Japan is about 8,000 yen, which I think is about $50, which is about double the most expensive SR that we've ever had, ever, in the game, even when there was, like, no stock back in OP01. Yeah. So Borsellino's super expensive right now, and that's, like, with the set still coming out right now. So it's I guess no, it was EB04. So I mean, maybe we have to wait for like reprints, I guess. But it's a very recent set. Still, first attack at the opponent's leader, going to use your leader effect to go up to 7k plus 1k, and now another 1k uses the second Pudding, no longer a factor in this game. Not something you have to consider anymore. But still, down to 4 hand while still having 3 life. This is really becoming a grind, and Nami's hand right now doesn't have great things to play on the next turn. Yes, you have that 4-cost Zoro, but, like, you don't have all too many things. I don't even know if he has a 5-cost Borsellino in trash right now, but once he finds that 5-cost Borsellino, he has all the other combo pieces that he needs to just really start to do some degenerate things. Plays down the 4-cost Nami, and you know what it is. 3 Dong left active. There's a certain event that exists that's really good within this deck that can lock characters that cost 7 or less. Uses it. There it is, all out, going to lock 2 of the opponent's characters, making so that the opponent's going to have a hard time actually finding damage on the opponent's leader, because this Newgate, yes, it's 12,000 power, but it's also a blocker, so you don't really want to swing with it, or else you're going to end up giving the opponent a lot of agency in the game. This, alongside the opponent's characters being locked now, makes it more difficult for Nami to actually get damage through. Starts with the 6k at the opponent's leader. What do you end up drawing on this turn? Oh, 5-cost Nami. Not great, considering the opponent only has 2 life right now, so decides to trash it off that 4-cost Zoro effect. And, plays another Zoro. So yeah, just decides to get rid of the 2k in hand, goes up to 4 life for, honestly, probably like the 4th time in this game. Feels like 7 life at this point. Fantastic deck. Everyone loves playing against Blue Yell Nami. But this is really what this deck excels at. It's not a deck that's really going to do anything flashy. It's just going to keep healing, and slowly but surely it's going to end up out-resourcing you, just because all of that life equates to more cards. It equates to more counter in a way, and does find that 5-cost Borsellino as well. Ah! Oh, camera died. Ah! Back. And uses the other really nice 3-cost event that green has access to in the Electrical Luna, locks everything that's on the board. So another great combo between that 4-cost Nami as well as the Luna to try to stall time while getting those attacks through with the board that he has access to. But I mean, we see that 5-cost Borsellino in hand. We also see some really good combos that can potentially play multiple of that Borsellino. We also see the 2-cost Logical in his hand as well. So I mean, Red Green Luffy, while he is able to keep this board permanently stunned for a very long time while getting these attacks through, this could be a turning point for Nami. It's not live, no. This was yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to see them, so I'm, like, reviewing this for myself, but I thought I might as well do it on stream. But yeah, plays the 5-cost Porcelino. Oh, no! And he gets rid of the Borsalino. So the opponent's 100% sure what that last life is, or what the second to last life is. Oh, gets rid of the Borsalino. Now he finally has it in his trash, meaning that the second that the opponent is going to hit in the opponent's, second that the opponent hits into Nami's leader, that Borsalino is coming back and putting him back to 2 life. How much life have we healed this game? Actually, it doesn't end up using the Nojiko on that turn. I don't. Oh, right, because he used the Hiyori. Interesting. So elects to go for the more defensive play than the. I mean, I guess both of them are kind of defensive plays, but decides to go for the Hiyori instead of laying down the Nojiko to get rid of the opponent's 5-cost Sanji. Still, maybe a correct play, just considering the amount of damage that can potentially come out of this board. That Luffy, though 7,000 power, is double attack, as well as that Zoro being 9,000 power. Means that Red Green Luffy still has a pretty scary board. Also, those Nami's on the board being blockers as well makes it a little bit more difficult to actually break through, but does end up getting rid of one of those Namis to search. Finds a 7-cost Zoro, which is going to be quite nice, all things considered. Don't know if he'll end up playing it on this turn because you can't see his hand. Yeah, and then there's the free block. Deny the double attack, but still has a lot of. Yeah, it goes for the 7-cost Zoro. Does have a lot of damage still on the board, and also because the opponent has an 8,000 power or higher character, that Zoro is also going to gain character rush. So definitely going to be relevant on this turn. Be able to get rid of the opponent's characters, and Luffy electing to stop going for the opponent's leader, deciding to go for the characters instead to try to clear the board because he's starting to realize that he's starting to run out of time. He's slowly getting out-resourced by this deck. Just an absolute resource monster in OP15. 8k swing into the Zoro, trying to get rid of these, and is going to use the activate main, also hitting 9k into that Robin, who, when killed, is going to be able to deal 1 damage to the opponent's leader. But, I mean, if Nami's board is completely cleared by these attacks, then it doesn't really matter if you're at 1 life because of your leader effect giving you so much extra. Wow, and that's been 30 minutes, and time flies. Okay, let's skip past this, where they explain how extra turns work. Does end up letting that 7-cost Robin disappear. Gets the extra hit into the opponent's leader, and yeah, as we already know, the Quasar into the Borsalino heals 1 life, gets 1 more character onto the board, and now has 2 going to his team, but being a 7,000 power leader with 2 free 2Ks, as well as having 5 cards in his hand, at least from the Nami's perspective, it's very difficult to actually close this game out. I mean, honestly, Red Green Luffy's still in a pretty fine spot, all things considered. Like, he's keeping Nami's board under control. He was able to stay very healthy in life to actually manage to take out those Robins. And now, when did overtime start? Is there 1 more turn for Luffy? Or is there 2 more turns for Luffy? If it started on Luffy's turn, then he has 1 more turn. If it started on Nami's turn, then he has 2 more turns. But still, Nami. Oh my god. I think it's like 10 life that he's healed at this point. It's exhausting at this point, and like any one of those could be Quasar as well. Leaves everything active as well. Wait, is he going to try to like win with overtime rules? Is this the final turn? Is this his last turn? Oh no, don't tell me this is how he wins. That would be so bad. Because the thing is, we only have these overtime rules in Top Cut, meaning that like the Nami would have had to like normally win every other time. or like try to close out the game the turn before, for example. But because it's overtime, and he's going for 7K. Is this the last turn? I mean, we'll find out like very, very soon. But uses leader fetch, goes to 7K, 1K counter out of hand. Going to use the Quasar out of hand for a plus 3K to defend against the Zoro attack. Does have 2 blockers on the board as well. So he just needs to stay at 2 or more life. Um. Oh no. Oh, okay. Hold on. Is there hope yet? I mean, that's a Quasar in hand. How much damage is this? This is 7, 10, 13, 13, 16. The opponent's 50. Ah, he has enough counter. No. Wait, that's so cringe. Oh, that's so sad. No. Oh my god. Wait. I d I even skipped past the overtime explanation because that, like, never comes up. It's like, it always ends before overtime rules actually come into effect. Oh, that's so sad. Oh, that's so cringe, man. Oh my god, dude, yellow. Oh, it's such a bad look for yellow, man. Because he did nothing the whole game. He healed the entire game. Like, he barely took back the opponent's board. He played Gravity Blade once, which, like, devastating, like, completely devastating. Made it very, very difficult for Luffy to actually push through. But, like, aside from that one Gravity Blade, he healed every single turn, sometimes twice in a turn, and that was enough to win because he just won with overtime rules because he stayed at 2 life, and once you go to overtimes and you go past your extra turns, he had 2 life, the opponent had 1 life, and he was able to defend the 15,000 double attack from the Luffy. Uh Oh my god, yeah, I was confused. I didn't wanna, like, mention because I didn't wanna, like, be confused in, like, the final turns of the game, but I was confused why he used the Quasar, but then didn't use the Quasar. He Oh my god, he took it back. He could have appealed that, no? Like, I mean, I don't know how the rest of his team ended up doing, so, like, if the rest of his team ended up winning, then, like, that's a thing. But, like, the thing is, it's a very gray area, you know? Like, if I'm playing Red Green Luffy here, I know it's weird both ways. Like, I want to win fairly. So, like, I don't wanna win because the opponent forgot that their card doesn't work when they're at 2 or less life. But considering the fact that the opponent won with overtime rules, I think this is a fair situation where you should be like, "Excuse me, judge. He played the card, didn't he? He can play the card, just nothing happens, right?" I feel like he could have done that, especially, like, if you're going to end up losing to overtime, it's like you're using your cheat move against the opponent's cheat move. So, like, I think that in this situation, I would probably call the judge, even though, like, I would never call the judge on, like, these kinds of things. Usually, I let the opponent take them back. But, like, this situation feels like, if we're both playing dirty, then, I'm gonna use every advantage I have. You use your event wrong, sucks to suck. But, no, that's everything was really tragic in the end about that. Ah, and the double attack Luffy in the end almost gave him the chance to go for lethal. Weirdly, with overtime rules, would have gave him lethal. But, I mean, if we didn't have overtime, we just had infinite time for this game, then I think that Luffy would end up winning over the course of several turns because he's been very good at keeping Nami under control with these attacks. And slowly but surely, he was building up his board despite that Gravity Blade in the early game. And no, that really sucks. That's unfortunate. Yeah, it really depends on the judge at the time, what they decide to do in that situation, so, like, I can't say for sure because 'cause I'm not a judge. What is the next matchup? Eh, eh, eh. I'm not that interested in this matchup. Were there no other matchups that were good? Oh, I wanted to see a Lucy mirror. I definitely don't wanna see a Nami mirror. But no, they gave us the, OP14 Classic, which I've honestly seen, like, too much of, so, I mean, this is kind of for me, so I'm sorry if you guys wanted to watch this, game, but maybe I'm sure that there are other content creators that have covered this, but I'm not all too interested in this game because this is, I mean, Mihawk, we don't see all too much, and I don't play Boa anyways. I'm more curious about, like, OP15 matchups. Do we get an OP15 matchup? Oh, we get Hancock versus Lucy. This is a good matchup. Yeah, I think this is a skip. Let's go into the finals then. Yeah, and then actually after the finals, I think this is a pretty good time for me to log off stream and start heading off to my event that I have. But yeah, so this is Lucy versus Hancock. Now this matchup, interesting matchup, um, was very Hancock favored until Lucy started teching in Berry Berry Pistol, and now Berry Berry Pistol is just like a default 4 of in the deck, just very, very good into a lot of other matchups, not just Hancock. But basically what you want to do as Lucy in this matchup is to, I don't know if you'll end up doing it, but the way that I play out this matchup is I don't hit with my leader. I only hit with Cavendish to gain cards in my hand. And oh yeah, he also has the 7 cost event. This 7 cost event is going to be quite relevant in this matchup as well to actually push back. But I like to play the game a little bit slowly as Lucy, use Barrier Barrier Pistol to get rid of the opponent's characters because it bottom decks, meaning that it doesn't actually trigger the leader effect of Boa Hancock, and then push back with the 7 cost Subble plus the Flame Flame Fruit event. The Flame Flame Fruit event, I can't say Flame Flame Fruit quickly. Flame Flame Fruit. Okay. Event gives your leader plus 3k and double attack and draws you 2 cards. So just a great way to start to get aggression onto the Boa Hancock leader and start to put some pressure on them. So that'll be the turning point in this game, but still needs to find those cards first. Lucy going to be taking first in this matchup in the finals of the first official OP15 event. So we did have a different one a little while back, but today is going to be one that everyone knew was OP15 because I think that the last event people didn't know that it was OP15. Still, starting with the 1 cost Rebecca search into the 7 cost Subble, does find it, and unfortunately, we saw that Lucy in the top 16 match wasn't able to find that 7 cost Subble, so we may see a more standard move from this Lucy. Does already have the... Whoa! Look at this Dong card diff. This is like the most expensive Dong card versus the cheapest Dong card possible. Wow, dude. The aura diff is crazy. I feel like Lucy has a lot more haki with this aura. It's like, if you went to Worlds and you're using this, if you went to Worlds and you're using this Dong, like, incredible. All power to you. But if you didn't go to Worlds and you're using these Dong, I feel like just winning with these Dong has a lot more aura. But anyways, getting back into the game. Gloriosa Nyomba was able to put 1 card into life, so Lucy decides not to hit into that, not wanting to give a very early trigger, and just plays out a bunch of searchers, just trying to find the piece that he needs. Does have that Cavendish now in hand, and is just going to make that Rebecca a blocker. And 4 cost Hancock going to come out. The ideal card in this curve. Oh, there's a lot of hands on screen going somewhere. Looking at the top 3, there's a Nyomba. Can't tell what the other cards are. Quasar, Borsa. So we'll be able to reorder these to the top or the bottom and attach 1 dong to leader or character. Did already swing. Does attach 1 dong. So interestingly, a lot of people would play this Hancock first and then swing, but there's a couple of reasons why you wouldn't want to do that. Now there's 2 lines of thinking. Either A, you want to swing with Hancock because you want counter out of the opponent's hand. Because hitting at 5k, from the Lucy perspective, it's like, okay, this is quite free, and also I don't want to block on this attack, so therefore I'm going to use my counter. So it could be a way to bait out counter. But what I think it probably actually is that he wants to play around the Barrier Barrier Pistol trigger. Because if he plays down this Hancock, then he swings for 6k into opponent's leader, and he first triggers Barrier Barrier Pistol. The Barrier Barrier Pistol trigger gets rid of a 6,000 power or less character, bottom decks it. So if you manage to trigger that card out, that completely ruins this 4 cost Hancock, so decides to order it in that way. Lucy, on the other hand, is going to be able to use that 4-cost event to draw 2, trash 1, play a Cavendish, as well as draw 1 more off of a leader effect. So far, so good for both players. Hancock playing these small situations in a more nuanced way to make sure that she's playing as best as she can around these triggers. That's just one dong to the 4-cost Hancock, and now also because this character is at 7,000 power now, it's out of range of the Berry Berry Pistol trigger. So even if they get it out of their life now, this character is not going anywhere. So now, in a way, Hancock has the green light to actually go for hits now. So smart decision making, yeah, not even hitting with the Hancock first, just attaching that dong ahead of time so that if this card is the Berry Berry Pistol, this card doesn't go away. Yes, they can still get rid of Nung, but much better than getting rid of this card, which is going to be a great attacker as well as a blocker later on to burn the opponent's life. And well, this is a pretty good hand. We see the Berry Berry Pistol in hand. You ideally probably want to have like at least one more, but we'll see if Lucy decides to hit with anything more than this Cavendish now, because goes for the Cavendish hit at the opponent's leader, knows that that first life is going to have trigger, but is starting to accrue a very big hand, and does see another Barrier Pistol, so we'll be able to get rid of that 4-cost boa should he choose to use it on this turn. He could also decide to be more aggressive and just try to break through with that 7-cost Flame Fruit event. It could be something that he considers considering how big his hand size is as well. Because you don't want to be punished by putting super hard, you could technically play down the 7-cost Subble, use the Flame Fruit, use a couple events from your hand, maybe even just one from your hand to go up to 9,000 power at least and try to break through and get a lot of pressure on the opponent. But still, this is the trigger that we knew about. Margaret going to be coming out, going to give you a draw as well as a search, though you do have to trash one card after that. And now we're going to have to see how Lucy's going to use this first 7-cost Subble. Seven-cost Subble comes out and going to use the Flame Fruit, so giving his leader plus 2,000 power, drawing 2 cards, as well as one more from his leader effect, is going to put him at a really big hand size. But we'll have to see if he decides to pitch some of these cards for that extra attack on the opponent's leader. Trying to put the pressure onto Hancock. If you could put him down to 1 life right now and Hancock doesn't get any triggers off of those life, it can really set the stage for this game. So thinking about what he may want to pitch, starting with 8k, looking at an incredibly expensive hand. Seems like he's only going to go for the 8k, but Hancock is going to go for that trigger first. Only gets 1 trigger though. Margaret with leader effect, going to draw 1. Going to search and trash 1, but still going to develop a pretty big board for Hancock. So Lucy being very aggressive right now, but we do see that there is a 4-cost pudding in Hancock's hand. He's trying to find a timing potentially to use that later on in the game, but using it too early can set your tempo behind. Using it too late may not end up mattering. So we'll have to see what he ends up doing here. I didn't know there was a shiny Slave Arrow card. Is that from like PRB or something? Never seen that before. Oh yeah, so that's how triggers work, is that you when you take a double attack, both life is taken and then your triggers activate. So if he had 2 trigger characters, they'd both come out. And then I believe that you can choose the order that they activate in. I may be wrong on that, so don't quote me. But you you take the 2 damage first, and then other effects activate, because effects have to fully resolve before the next effect can start in the One Piece card game. So took the second life and then used the Margaret effect. Because like in a way, technically, you're not taking 1 life at a time, you're taking 2 life at the same time. So that's basically how that works. It's just that visually you're taking it 1 at a time because physical card game. Still, Nami going to play down the pudding, decides this is the time. The massive hand that Lucy was accruing is going to be ruined, but Again, for a deck like Lucy, though, because you have so many ways of drawing cards, if you manage to find some of those card draw cards, oh, like we see Buhubaso, which is a card that I've been playing in my deck. I also put it in my video as well, as a card that I think is pretty solid in Lucy compared to the Dressrosa Pilaf, Dressrosa +2 draw. I think that this card's quite nice because it can bounce a 4-cost, and specifically into NL, the 3-cost Holy, the 3-cost Dog, which should be banned, is bounceable by Buhubastel. So does see some pretty good cards. Not the best targets for Sable, but has a couple of options to his hand. But the nice thing with Lucy is that because of your lead effect, even though you just went from like maybe 9 or 10 hand down to 5, you can redraw your hand very, very quickly if you choose to. So elected not to play around the pudding at all, just took it head on, which does mean that Hancock is forced to play it on this turn and not play potentially other potentially damning cards on this turn. But still, Hancock, now with Lucy's hand reset, going to try to get these extra hits into the opponent's board, or leader, sorry, to try to make the most out of the situation before he can go back up in hand size. And Pudding's a good card. By the way, I'm curious, for the people watching this, do you think Pudding should have been banned or should it not have been banned? Because, I mean, it's a very... Maybe I'll bias you guys by showing you Pudding just reset a 10-card hand, but I'm curious what the general consensus of the people here are. Do you wish that Pudding still existed? And are you a blue player? Yeah. Should have been... Yeah, we do need a replacement. I'm sure that they're going to print us something. Yes, yes. Should have banned yellow. True. But yeah, Hancock now, I mean, full board is also going to have that very ominous last life, which we don't know what it is yet. We have no idea what it could potentially be, but against yellow, it could be anything. And now Lucy with the turn doesn't have a great hand, but with that Cavendish, we'll be able to cycle a little bit to potentially find something. Oh, actually, has the barrier pistol, so that could be a pretty good play here. I think you probably play the 7-cost Sabo first, use the Bayou pistol, get rid of the opponent's 4-cost Hancock blocker because that will burn one of your life cards. And yeah, just immediately goes for that play, gets rid of it, doesn't activate the effect of Hancock because it wasn't a KO. Well, Huggy, the Hancock player, shaking his head a little bit like, ah, man, Pudding never lucky. Why is this card getting banned when he's just going to give him all the cards he needs anyways? But going to get exactly the cards that he needs. 7-cost Sable into the Berry pistol to reduce the opponent's board. Gets that Cavendish as well. Starting to refill his hand very quickly. And still has 2 very large characters on the board. Should have been banned. Yeah, should have set banned Borsa and Quasar. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't touch yellow at all. Buffing it was funny, though. Like, I think that's just a really funny thing at this point. Rago's not a huge deal, but I think it's weird that it's back. I don't think it should have come back. Basically, red card. Yeah. I think Pokemon and not Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon and One Piece are very, very different games in, like, the way that they treat resources. But, I'm curious to see what they decide to add now that Pudding doesn't exist. Yeah, going for the 9K swing, and there it is, the Quasar into the Borsalino, straight onto the board. With your lead effect as well, going to draw you 1 card and heal you 1 life. Fantastic card. Great job, Bandai. Brilliant combo. I completely didn't even register that he gets to draw off of that Hancock as well. That's so cringe. But yeah, Hancock, who would have been in a really bad spot otherwise, now is still at 1 life and additionally has a blocker on the board as well. So, and still in this game has a rather big hand, all things considered. Does have another 5-cost Borsalino in hand. Kind of hard to see what other cards are in hand. I'm really having trouble figuring out what cards are in his hand because they're all so shiny. But just trying to do what he does best. Complete opposite, honestly, of how Blue Yell Nami likes to play the game, where Blue Yell Nami just stalls the game, staying at 7k power and infinitely healing life. This deck, Hancock, is trying to chip away with these small trigger characters, 5k, 5k, 5k. If you get that Gorgon Sisters, a lot more extra damage on the board. But just using the life heal that he has at his disposal to act as a time staller rather than an actual way to sort of play and win out the game. Or I mean, like, not his core game plan to stall out the game, but like a way that he ends up finding enough damage to close out the game with his smaller characters. English, very hard language. I'm sorry, guys. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. English, very difficult. So it's hard to tell what's going to end up happening, considering that I have no idea what this card is on the far right. I keep staring at it, but I can't figure out what it is. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, Hancock once again playing around the Berry pistol trigger. Really, this matchup, a lot of it comes down to that Buddy pistol. And as we saw last turn, was very beneficial. And just trying to make sure that he doesn't end up losing to it coming out of trigger on this next turn as well. Attaching one dong onto that Borsalino to make it 7,000 power, putting it out of range of Buddy pistol. Oh, Hiyori. Oh, okay, I see it now. My god, dude. It looked like Enel from far away. I don't know why it looked like Enel. Because I was thinking like there's yeah, no, I see the Hiyori now. But like for some reason it looked like Enel's like face, I can't see it anymore. Or, like Enel's face and like the little like fireworks I think around him. I thought were like the drums around Enel. Okay, that's Hiyori. No, I see it now. Yeah, it's just the standard alt art. Yeah, just trying his best to play around the Buddy pistol. Now playing down the 9-cost Hancock, going up to 2 life, and Lucy now down to 0. What was looking really great for Lucy just a turn ago is suddenly in a really bad spot. Oof. Uses the 2k, doesn't want to rest that Subble quite yet. And yeah, just going to rest it now. Thinking about that Borsalino attack, but likes not to go for it. Just trying to stay as safe as possible because he knows that if he can survive this next turn, then most assuredly he should be winning. Though yes, Lucy can quickly build up hand size. He needs some amount of time, and Hancock is making sure that he doesn't actually have it. Hmm. Man, and because you're not playing a yellow deck, you can't actually win through the time rules like the Nami player did either. So Lucy, up against the corner now, doesn't have the option to just sit here for 9 minutes and think about his turn. Will actually need to try to find a way to close out this game. And it's crazy. I didn't even consider how advantageous yellow is in time rules because you just kind of sit there, and then like once it becomes overtime, you just feel like Borsa, okay, I have more life than you. But thankfully, it doesn't happen all too often because in Japan, preliminary rounds, it's not depending on life total. It is just a double loss. So fortunately, we saw the one match where time rules actually ended up becoming a huge part of it. But Lucy going to start with the Cavendish swing, 8k, and going to make his hand size a little bit bigger, getting rid of that brick out of his hand. The Cavendish not going to be able to be converted into counter through his leader effect nor the stage. So decides to start with the 8k swing. He may just need to try to go for lethal on this turn, but considering Hancock's massive hand size, the blocker on board, as well as having 2 life, I don't think that there's a way for Lucy to actually end up winning the game on this turn. Was that Roger? He started 6k and went Roger first. Would that have made the difference? I feel like this card is Roger off to the far right. May be wrong, but it may have. I mean, if he feels like he's backed into a corner where he has to end the game on this turn, then that may have been the better play, I'd imagine. I don't know if he drew it off of the Cavendish or not, but yeah, he must have drawn out the Cavendish. Otherwise, I think for sure he would play it. But yeah, no, that's. I mean, if he just started 6k with the Cavendish, looking for that out, then then he wouldn't be really wishful thinking. He would actually have a reasonable chance at going for lethal because this deck uses the 10 cost Roger really, really well because not only is it a 10 cost 13,000 rush, which lets the opponent not be able to use blockers, but also because of your leader effect, you can dump all of those events in your hand, which right now we see he has a massive number of events in his hand, to be able to increase his leader's power as well, making it so that he's not hitting for 5k with his leader. He's hitting for like, I mean, at this point, isn't this 10k? Because you can also pitch the stage, I believe. So you'd be hitting for 6, 9, 9, 10, 13, and the opponent wouldn't be able to use his blocker. That might have been game. Oh, did he already have it? I'm not sure. I would need to look back a little bit because it's hard to see some of these people's hands. But like he may have had enough depending on some of these triggers if he went for that line of play instead, because then the opponent would have to counter out of 2 attacks that are either 9k or 10k. And he does have a rather big hand, but he would only have 1 timing to be able to counter. Okay, yeah, it uses a whole lot of counter to counter out of the 10k attack too. 1 1 1 1 1. Now 2 cards left in hand. Going to try to go for the Viola swing. He needs to get this attack through. Does he still have it? Oh! Oh! He still had it. Oh my god. Thank god. Oh, dude. I've seen yellow get burned so many times that I just assumed that he wouldn't have it in the end, but I just was completely blanking. Yellow does so many bad things to a man. But in the end, Lucy, with his leader effect... Oh, has it. As we mentioned, with the leader effect, able to dump his entire hand to go for the 10,000 swing at the end, and it's enough. The Viola that was played all those turns ago, going to be the difference. Oh my god. And dude, Lucy's a really interesting deck, but I'm glad that we got to see yellow in the end losing to especially the new generation of this red-blue Lucy deck. And okay, this is the other match. So right now it is, because of 3v3, you need 2 out of 3 of your teammates to win. So the Lucy we saw just won, but the other player, which I believe is blue, I don't remember actually who it was, but the other team ended up winning their match. So whoever wins this match wins the tournament, which basically means how much long? Oh, it's kind of long. No, it's like 4 minutes. Okay, they're almost in overtime. But like, Jesus Christ, what is this board, man? Oh my god. We can't see their hands, unfortunately, because this isn't like the main stream table. But we have Tony, the blue-yellow Nami, who before won off of time rules against a... Oh my god. I saw this guy. The people are talking about this guy on Twitter this morning. This guy was banned. I don't know if he was banned, but he was called out at the very least because he was trying to split prizing in a flagship battle in the finals, and he got called out for it. And I saw people on Twitter saying like, wait a minute. I know that guy. He was at my flagship battle doing whatever. So now we have Mr. Timeout versus Mr. Let's Split the Prize, bro. And they're both playing blue-yellow Nami. I don't think this has any... this says nothing about their character. But we have 2 blue-yellow Namis with 2 massive boards, which is all 7-cost Robin or the 10-cost Newgate, and blockers to boot. This is a really chaotic... I wish that this guy would put his leader in the center of the playmat, though. Splitting prizing in Japan is very bad. Like, the second that you say that you want to split prizing, the opponent just says it to the judge, and then the opponent gets banned. So then, like, you shouldn't ask for split prizing, because all the opponent has to do is say that you said you wanted to split prizing, and then you lose. So, like, no one splits prizing in Japan. So, like, this guy was, like, super frowned upon because he got called out publicly about it. I'm surprised how prevalent it is in Southeast Asia, though. Because, like, every single flagship I see, it's like circle, 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 shake hand, circle, or something like that. But in Japan, no prize splitting, like, ever. But anyways, let's finish off this game, though, because there's only 10 seconds left. Oh, I grabbed the wrong thing. 3, 2, 1. Okay, it is the Nai who's going first turn right now. So therefore, this is turn 0. It'll go... This is turn 0. Then This Nami gets turn 1, he gets turn 2, and it'll end on turn 3 for the Nami going second, if it manages to get to that point. Which it may, because it has already today, so we'll end up seeing exactly what's going to end up going down. But we'll see though, because we can't see their hands, so we don't know how close these people are to lethal. But still, there is the tried and true. I request our help. Borsellino, heal. Get a blocker onto the board, heal 1 life. It really comes down to hand size, because if the Blue Nami on the right's hand size is low, it looks like he's just going to go for lethal now, yeah. Seems like he sees the angle, is going to go for it regardless of the fact that the opponent has 2 life still, so indicates that he probably has a very low hand size. Swinging 8k to start Kazuki, Blue Nami on the right, Mr. Split Prizing. I probably shouldn't call him that, but like it was just a big story this morning. I didn't realize this was the guy in the finals though. 8k at leader. Oh yeah, dude, imagine... it won't go to that point, but imagine that he actually ends up losing to time at this point. Goes 8k once more with the Borsellino. And yeah, I think he doesn't have enough damage. Yeah, which means that he decides to scoop, meaning that the winner is going to be the side with the Lucy. Meaning that at the very end, we saw yellow topple twice, although he technically yellow toppled yellow. But thank God we didn't get that Nami mirror on stream, because that would have been a nightmare to commentate over. We got a more explosive, more exciting ending to this championship. We had Lucy taking down Hancock in the end, and now they are the champions. Now, yes, Okay, I think I reconnected. I'm back. I think Nami's still going to be fine, but it comes down to the rest of the meta. Let me see if there is a stream today, or if someone can let me know. Because if there is a stream today, I'm probably will be back, but we'll be doing that live. We'll see. Oh, there is. Okay. So in about 6-ish, probably 6.5 hours-ish, is going to be a stream for the 1v1 tournament. So who knows? Maybe I'll be back for that. If I have time, I'll be back. I think I should be back, but I'm not 100% sure on my plans for tonight. But if it is on and I happen to be free, then maybe you'll see me in 6 hours, which will be crazy considering how very little I end up streaming. But regardless, I have to go to a flagship soon. I have to sleeve up my deck. I'm going to try Ema in this meta. I don't know if it's going to actually be that good. I might hit the wrong matchups, but I might hit the right matchups, and that's all that matters. If I hit the right matchups, then I win. If I hit the wrong matchups, then I lose, and that's the same for every deck that exists. So wish me a bit of luck. I will head off, but maybe I'll see you a little bit soon. Thank you guys for tuning in. It was a lot of fun to just kind of get caught up, answer some questions that you guys had, talk about how my life's been going, look at the games that I missed yesterday. I really appreciate you guys all showing up for today. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun to interact with chat for the first time in a little bit of a while. Ideally, I do want to stream a little bit more, but I don't know exactly how my schedule is going to line up. But I mean, once I end up doing YouTube full time, I'll be able to stream a lot more. So let's hope that we can get to that soon. Oh, and if you haven't, maybe consider subscribing. Consider liking the stream. I think that it helps. Subscribing definitely helps my ego. So I appreciate it very much if you would choose to do so. Thank you guys so much for watching this stream. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Bye-bye.